Sills. I didn't want until I just was reminded on X what today is. You know what the anniversary is today? Eagle fans. You know what the anniversary is today? What do you think it is? It's about one of your legendary ball players. Today is the anniversary. Thank you, Sue. Today's the day I got the unfortunate call that Jerome Brown died. Like 32 years now? Wow. Just seems like yesterday. Just seems like yesterday that we got that call. My grandpa's house. I've told many of you the story. And I mean, incredible. I probably should do that in honor of today. Probably should do it. Probably should do it, right? Man. I got to tell you, man. All the great legendary Philadelphia Eagles that were there. I know I told you guys a bunch of the story. Got all these when we all showed up. My friend Tim Jenkins sent me a reminder this morning. And just as I was going on, someone goes, Sills, today's the anniversary of Jerome's dead. Or Jerome dying. I'm like, yeah. Probably have to say something. You guys seem very close. We were very close. Can't imagine how hard that loss was for you, Sills. Oh, we talked every week. Oh, exceptionally close. I wouldn't have been the player at Miami without him. I wouldn't have been the person. I didn't know anything about being around black folks. I had no idea. My relationship with Jerome Brown was more than football. I hadn't been around a lot of black folks in my life. And I got down to Miami, and it was an education that I'm so grateful that I had the opportunity to go through. I told you the story that I'd never been to Liberty City, Overtown, places like that. Hey, Sills, put your jersey on. You're going somewhere with me. He didn't even know I was good yet. I was like this, where am I going? I went to some of these impoverished places that I didn't know what poverty was. And there's Jerome handing out jerseys, handing out money, giving kids opportunities to go get some food and shit. And I'm like this. He's from Brooksville too. And I'm sitting there going like, okay. Then that's where I met Luther Campbell. We would go to all these we went to a barber shop telling these crazy ass stories. I'm the only white guy in the room. And I asked him as we're driving back, I go, why'd you take me? He goes, I think you need this. I said, I didn't know what he was talking about. I had no idea what he was talking about. I'm so thankful. He goes, you know why, Sills? 90% of our football team's black. You ever play with black players? I go, no. He goes, well, you won't get a handful of it. My roommates were black. And I was like, I never had black roommates. Walk in the room, there's Jerome and there's Highsmith and there's Daryl Fullington. I was like, I even went and said something to Jimmy about it. Jimmy goes, this will be good for you. Best thing on the planet for me. Best thing on the planet. You know what, too? I don't think about the sad part of it any longer. I think about all the great times we had. All the great times. Me and him broke up a Klan rally. He invited me to break up a Klan rally. You know, when you're not raised in that environment and you're in a Catholic school and you got 2 black kids in the school, and then you get down to Miami and you get an education like that, greatest thing ever happened to me. And as many of you know, many of those players are still my friends to this day. There's no coincidence that all those coaches come on this program. Okay? I bet you stop going to Great Clips. Eduardo. Yeah, that sounds about right. Okay? That sounds about right. You put your life at risk? Nah. What I did was I just was taught a lesson from my friend. Hey, man, it was awesome being there with Jerome and always going up to Brooksville, staying at his house with his family. It was really great, man. It was great. Hey, JL24, you're not worthy of a response. You know why? You stand on an anthill praying I recognize you. Congratulations. Now you can go sit in your little fucking dunce corner where everyone can laugh at you like they did when you were in high school, telling everybody that you were on the 5th team in football. Go ahead, kid. Go sit in your little dunce hat in the corner. You got your little recognition, and now you can go play with yourself. You got my attention. Look, see? I know what you guys do and what you want. It's okay, sweetheart. I got you, honey. It's all good. We are 29 days, so rest in peace, JB. 29 days. 29 days until the start of training camp. By the way, last night was awesome. Hey, you want to know what guts, desire, and determination look like? Game 7 last night, that 2-1 victory by the Panthers was absolutely awesome last night. That was spectacular last night. Ratings off the charts for the NHL. Kudos to that, man. That was really great last night. I enjoyed watching that. Paul Maurice ended up getting his Stanley Cup and his name finally put on the cup. I got a picture that I posted on my X account with me with the Stanley Cup when Tampa won it. Do you know in the last 5 years, the cup has gone through Florida 3 times? Tampa's won it twice. And now the Panthers have won it. You're telling me that Lord Stanley has a tan? And when's the last time that the Canadians produced a champion? What was it? Calgary years ago? Back in the early 90s? Florida has more of an impact. More of an impact in the NHL than what Canada does. Kudos to that. That was really great last night. As we said, though, 29 days till the start of training camp. Our boy Xander's going to join us. We're hoping Gary Cobb steps in with us at 4:30. I know he's at a football camp, so we will get a hold of him. I'm very sure of it. That'll be at 4:30. So I was listening to the guys on Birth 365 today. And you know what? Even Xander and I were talking about this as we get ready for camp here. I just surely hope that they're not going to continue to try to change Jalen Hurts into something that he's not. Has been the narrative. Has it not? It's been the narrative. We don't want to see Hurts turned into something that he's not. So that means you're assuming that Kellen Moore is going to turn himself into something that he's not. Is that correct? So you're going to turn a coordinator into something he's not and expect tremendous results. Is that right? Yes or no? So Kellen Moore has to change. Right? Well, that's more of a risk than changing Hurts in a way, isn't it? right? By the way, we're going to take a look at today the challenges that the Eagles are going to have when it comes to coordinators, head coaches, play callers throughout the 2024 season. We're going to do that here in a minute. Okay? And I want to hit on something Dallas Goedert said. But you tell me, so Kellen Moore has to change pretty much how he's been a play caller in the league. Is that right? So Kellen Moore has to change. You don't want to change Jalen. Okay, and I get that. You're paying $50 million a year for that. So you hired a guy and you've asked him to completely change his play calling and how he play calls. This is almost as dumb as Brian Johnson being hired. Why didn't you hire an RPO play caller like Cliff Kingsbury? Somebody that resembles Shane Steichen. I keep hearing Xander and Joe or John McMullen say, well, if he's a good play caller, he can change. Why don't you hire an RPO play caller? As always, you're the man, Sills. I appreciate that. And by the way, Ace, that's really cool of you to say that, man. Thank you so much for that. I always appreciate you. It's not by accident. You are here covering the Eagles. This wax your destiny with your bud, JB. Thank you so much, man. I appreciate it, Ace. Means a lot. Why didn't the Eagles hire so here's another case of hiring a guy that doesn't fit the quarterback. Kellen Moore may do it. He may do it. But why would you hire a second year in a row of play caller that doesn't resemble the skill set of the player? Am I off base on that? Am I off base? So this is the second year in a row you've hired somebody that doesn't fit the skill set of the player, right? Yes or no? They're not building the offense around Hurts. You better build that offense around Hurts. Why the hell are you paying up $50 million? What are you talking about? You better build that thing around him. But why are you hiring a guy who doesn't fit the skill set of the player 2 years in a row? And you're assuming that he's a really good offensive-minded guy and he'll be able to adjust. Why didn't you just hire a guy that was his skill set? Look at Emreus. False. That's bullshit. He's never called an RPO offense. He doesn't call RPO offenses. Oh, but no, let me take that back. He doesn't call RPO quarterbacks. Facts. Not false. Facts. Name me one. Why didn't you hire a guy like Shane Steichen or Cliff Kingsbury? You had Kingsbury in the building. So Kellen's got to figure it out, right? Opposites attract. I'm not looking to date the guy. I'm looking to be compatible with the guy. This is the second year in a row the Philadelphia Eagles have hired a guy that doesn't fit the quarterback skill set. And that's why the quarterback is speaking out on it. So all of these crazy-ass notions, dude, that's an assumption. That's an assumption that he's going to be able to build an offense around Jalen Hurts. I know this. He's never built one around a quarterback like him. Look at this. Kellen will be just fine. How do you know that? Dude, if you had an RPO guy, I'd be more comfortable, wouldn't you? Let me ask you this. If you were going to hire a guy to fly an airplane, all he did was fly propeller airplanes, and then you had to have him fly a G8, would you feel a little uncomfortable that he's never flown a G8? But hey, he knows how to fly. Would you be a little nervous? Or would you rather be somebody like JFK Jr., wasn't qualified to fly the plane. Would you be a little nervous? This is the second year in a row. Hey, I think the defense has been addressed. I do. I think the defense has been addressed. But to sit here and try to tell me that for the second year in a row, you hired a guy, I got to tell you, I now see where I'm going right now is this. I see Jalen Hurts' frustration. You're not hiring the right people. Still, Kellen will be okay. You guys told me last year Brian Johnson would be okay. Didn't you? Sills, they've been friends forever. He's been in the building. He was the quarterback coach. It was just a progression that they would elevate him. Made sense. I was like this. But he's never called a play as a play caller. From day one, I questioned it. I said, that's not going to look. How about this? Brian Johnson would have been better this year. Don't you agree? That's a great take, Forte. Hurts is being baptized every year by a new system and a new way of play calling. Absolutely true. Absolutely true. He's the offensive coordinator. Can you coordinate a plan based on the talent you have, Sills? Yeah, but he's also the play caller. It's not about designing the play. See, that's the difference with Steichen. Steichen developed the play, but the decision-making was Hurts's. Decision-making was Hurts's. Okay? Johnson had no experience in play calling or designing a scheme, Marina says. Hey, Marina, every one of your football players had career years last year. Don't you think he would have been better this year? Don't you think he would have been better? You won 11 games. I mean, you won 11 games. Your wide receivers got contract extensions. I mean, some of you think Hurts didn't play that awful like John McMullen. Don't you think he would have been better? First-year play caller. How about this? Let's put this out there. So as a first-year play caller, you think Brian Johnson did a good job or not? Some of you are going to go, no. Well, why? Everyone had career years. DeAndre Swift did. Wide receivers did. Offense was 8th. He scored 26 points a game. Hurts threw for 3,900 yards. This guy just beat numerous good defensive coordinators. Beat the Chiefs. I'll duel the Chiefs. I'll duel the Bills. I mean, by the way, he's now the quarterback coach for Cliff Kingsbury in Washington. That's a pretty good-looking dynamic. Cliff Kingsbury now has Brian Johnson, who has Jaden Daniels, who kind of resembles a little bit of Hurts, but is probably a better passer. That's a pretty damn good coaching staff that you have in Washington there. That's pretty good looking. I don't know what Jaden Daniels is going to do this year, but that's pretty good. All right, let's move on here. So I heard Dallas Goedert's comments. What's the obsession with the big play or the explosion plays? I think it's the dumbest fucking thing you can actually have Jalen do. Explosion plays? All the great quarterbacks that play in the National Football League that have won Super Bowls, there's no explosion plays in Kansas City. There's no explosion plays during the Brady era. There were no explosion plays. They were all time-consuming, field position, dump-off patterns, slants, post occasionally. You would never consider Brady during the time that Brady won Super Bowls, and even now what we're seeing with Mahomes, an explosion offense. What's the big deal with this? That they want explosion plays. The best is yet to come on explosion plays. Explosion is a frame of mind. I don't believe that because you know why? You don't have a short passing game. Once again, M. Reyes is not watching the game. I don't know what game you're watching. That's all they do. They don't have a short passing game. Hell, they can't even throw to the middle of the field. All they do is throw to the numbers. And they're going to try to confuse people this year with motion. This is going to be more of an alignment thing than it is going to be more play patterns. I'm not understanding the nuances. What nuances? That they don't have a short passing game, they don't throw to backs, and they barely throw to tight ends, and they don't throw to the middle of the field. What nuance am I missing? That's for 3 years. By the way, that's a trend. I heard John McMullen go like this to say that Nick Bosa doesn't really know what he's talking about when he says that Hurts was exposed. He was dead nails on. He was exposed. You know why? Go to the numbers, nothing in the middle of the field. They use no motion whatsoever. Their third wide receiver is a non-factor, and they don't throw the back, so you don't have to worry about screens. All you have to do is set the edge and get a rush up the middle, and you got the kid. That's not hard, man. That's football 101. I mean, Nick Bosa was spot on. McCaffrey was calling. Dude, Christian McCaffrey, Bosa, they were calling it sitting there on that Manning cast. This is what they're going to do next. They were calling the plays. What do you mean they didn't know what they were doing? They knew exactly what they were doing by formation alone. These explosion plays that they like to have big play, again, do you want to put up big numbers and do you want to put up big scoring or do you want to win significant ball games? Because you did all that last year. You won 11 games and you put up big numbers and it led you nowhere. Why is this year going to be any different? Think about what you accomplished last year. You had big numbers by your receiving core, did you not? Your running back had a great year, got a contract extension. I mean, you were 8th in offense, and you won 11 games. What's different this year? What is going to be different? But what? Hey, by the way, what that guy say? Other teams are afraid of us too. Who, like the Bucks? Who blew your doorknobs off? Daniel says, Sills, you've been spot on everything going on from the start. I officially boycotted Frat Boy 94-1. I'm getting all my boys on board as well. Keep up the great work. You're the man. Daniel, Paisan, thank you very much. That's a kind compliment. And we've always done this by word of mouth, and we appreciate that. Thank you very much. Especially during this time of the year when those guys are making bullshit up. And we cover what actually you have to think about before you get ready for training camp 29 days out. And as you're starting to prepare, you can't run a simplistic offense in 2024's NFL, says JM. Hey, JM, do you think you really had a high-powered, sophisticated offense in 22? You think that was a sophisticated offense in 22? Where they lined up and ran you over? You don't really think you had some sort of high-powered, sophisticated offense, right? Wasn't it simplistic? I'll tell you the one thing that I would like to see Jalen Hurts do more this year. How about this? Don't put the guardrails on him. Let him play like Mahomes. I think he's better off-script plays. I want Jalen on off-script plays. Let me ask you guys this. When Aaron Rodgers got in off-script plays and he got in the perimeter, was he not a nightmare to cover for teams? The accuracy he had, teams feared him when he got in the perimeter. Did they or did they not? Sills, let's just way we come out swinging. The team is amazing, makes a Super Bowl run. Where do we go from there? Kellen Moore leaves for a new team. Daniel, it's the revolving door known as the revolving coaching staff of the Philadelphia Eagles. They don't put a priority on trying to keep coaches in the building. The problem comes down to this. You have no fail-safe on your coaches. And the number one thing that I hear John McMullen saying all the time, when you're good, people come in and raid your team. Well, that's not all the case. Kimberly, thank you. You know why? You're not raiding the offensive play caller in San Francisco. You're not raiding the offensive play caller in Kansas City. You're not raiding the offensive play caller in Green Bay. You're just not. Those guys, Sean McVay with the Rams, it's a failsafe. Kevin Stefanski in Cleveland. Those guys have a failsafe in offense. As long as that team's successful, those coaches will be there extended periods of time. Nick, on the other hand, will not be. He's got to go through the merry-go-round of offensive coordinators, good and bad, every year. Jalen Hurts knows this is a fact. Guys, do me a favor. Do you agree? Jalen Hurts will have a brand new coordinator at the end of this year. Yes or no? And it's June 25th, and I'm making that proclamation. He will have a new coordinator. Yes or no? I'm just telling you flat out. Hey, Vic may still be here, but Jalen Hurts will have a new coordinator. Correct? Jalen knows that already. He already knows he's getting a new coach next year. He just doesn't know who it is. Look at Jay. Jay says no. So Jalen Hurts does well, Jay. You think he's sticking around to be the coordinator or taking a head coaching job in Buffalo or Tampa? Don't think so. Why? You've had a new coordinator for the last 5 years here. Steve, look at Steve. Look at you guys. Look at how many offensive coordinators you've had in the last 3 years. Okay? Nick, Shane, Brian, now Kellen. You've had 4 coordinators offensively in the last 3 years, but you won't have one this coming year. I see. And why is that? And why is that? You've had 4 offensive coordinators in 3 years, but you're not going to have. Oh, wait. So wait a minute. You actually think if he takes the team to the NFC title game, they're going to fire Nick? No way. I agree now with Xander on that. No way. Because you know why? Then the Eagles turn around and go, we're grooming Nick to be the perfect head coach for the Eagle organization. He is the perfect head coach. Doug's not the perfect head coach because Doug didn't play along with them. So what? Jay says. Well, ask Jalen how he feels about new offensive play callers and new systems every year. He's already started telling you. I find that hard to believe that people still think that. You are going to have a brand new coordinator. And we already know this on June 25th. If he sucks, he's fired. If he's good, he's moving on. It's something that Chris Long said. You know what it is? Writing's on the wall for Nick. Once they took the play calling away, Nick will never have continuity from his offensive play calling as long as he's the head coach of Philadelphia Eagles. He's right. There will never be continuity until Nick's fired. And you hire a guy like a Cliff Kingsbury or Kellen Moore. You should have just went along and hired Kellen Moore and see how that worked out. But they didn't want to look bad because of the record. And I agreed, the record and the playoffs. It's funny, they gave him the opportunity to dig himself out of whatever, even though those guys had a good year last year. Just like John McMullen said, you guys have a 667 win percentage. And you're going to have to excuse me here, but what did Brian Johnson do wrong last year? What did Brian Johnson do that was so wrong last year? 8th in offense. Everyone had career years. What was he so bad at? He was bad at everything. How could he be bad at everything when B. Costello? How could he be bad at everything when everybody was great? How could he be bad? That's not true. They won 11 games. Everyone has really good numbers. Play calling? Well, the play calling resulted in a wide receiver getting $34 million annually. Seals, explosion plays are like home runs in baseball. They're sexy. That's the attraction that Jeff to Chip. Jeff does not want to win with small ball. He thinks, okay, so he'd rather be a Kyle Schwarber, hit 206 and have 46 home runs. That's who the Eagles are in your time. Bob, in your opinion, that's who Jeffrey Lurie wants the Eagles to look like, is Kyle Schwarber. Hit 215, 218. It's either swing or miss. Is that right? Okay. I never looked at it that way, that the Eagles are Kyle Schwarber. 46 home runs, 120 RBIs, hitting 226. I guess you learn to live with the walk of shame. I know many baseball players in today's game learn to live with the walk of shame. All I know is Washington scares the hell out of me. Brian Johnson's a good coach, and we'll have Jaden Daniels winning the Offensive Rookie of the Year award. We didn't hire Cliff Kingsbury, and I agree, Daniel. I wish we could put Daniel's still his comment up there because I dig that. I think Washington's going to be very good too. I think their O-line is still, in my opinion, something that you're going to have to take a look at. Hey, Daniel, if you want to repost that, I'll finish it up there. Here you go. Daniel's winning the Offensive Rookie of the Year. We didn't hire Cliff Kingsbury. You know why you didn't hire Cliff Kingsbury? He wanted his own coaching staff. The Eagles didn't want it. And if that meant firing Jeff Stoutland, I would have had a problem with that too, because he wanted to bring his own offensive line coach and get rid of Stoutland. Daniel, I'm not for that. And if that was the deal breaker, then we do have a deal breaker. Jeff Stoutland has produced way more in this league than what Cliff Kingsbury, and I like Cliff, but I am not getting rid of Jeff Stoutland for anybody. And that would be a deal breaker for me. Not a chance in hell. He's one of the top offensive line coaches since the guy in New England. He's a fantastic offensive line coach. He and Bill Callahan, who's now in Tennessee with his son, are the two best O-line coaches, in my opinion, in the league. I'm not getting rid of Jeff Stoutland. Jeff Stoutland is the best offensive assistant coach that the Eagles have had since Jim Johnson. Since Jim Johnson. I'm not getting rid of Jeff Stoutland. That's not happening. Even Sirianni stopped airing it out and started to run a couple of years ago. So change happens. Does. Brian Johnson eats shit for breakfast. Yeah, well, all your boys got paid. I bet you this, M. Reyes. If you asked those wide receivers who got contract extensions this year, if they were disappointed in Brian Johnson's play calling and targeting to them, I wonder what they would say when they got their wallets filled and their salaries tripled. You think they're happy or sad? One guy had almost 1,600 yards. Actually, since he's been a Philadelphia Eagle, and Brian Johnson, last year, he had a career year. A.J. Brown did. Stoutland is the best. Completely agree with you guys. But the obsession with the explosion plays is dumb. But it's an optics. Remember, that's an organization that thrives on optics. They like to look bigger than they are. They want the big play instead of winning games. This is a prime example. Look, so you guys really think it's going to be, what is going to be different this year? You think? You won 11 games and everyone had career years. What will change? What changes? Barkley a little better? Well, you lose Jason Kelce. I'll tell you what, if you wanted to make, how many people would do this? If you wanted to exchange this out, you could send Barkley back to New York, and I'll take Kelce back. I'll take Kelce. I'll take Kelce. You can have Barkley. Would you want that trade? Kelce for Barkley? Would you do that? Look at Pete Costello. He would take a broken down running back over an all-pro center. Some of these guys in here, man, kind of expose themselves. You would take Barkley. 2017, Kelce, hey, Daniel. Jason Kelce in 2023 was first team All-Pro. He was first team All-Pro. So wait a minute. You would have Malata, Dickerson, Kelce, maybe Mekhi Becton, and Lane. And you'd rather have Barkley and Jurgens. I think Jurgens is going to be good, too. I do. I think Jurgens is going to be good. I mean, healthy-wise, 2017. With 2023 knowledge. Hey, man, you never know when Father Time is going to hit one of them guys that are up there 36, 37 years old. You're not wrong for the notion of what you're saying, so I'm with you. It's irrelevant. Jason ain't here. He's not coming back. It's not the point, Steve. Once again, Kelce doesn't want to play. Barkley does. Not rocket science. Not sure what you're talking about. I'm talking about if you think that that's an upgrade, having a guy like Barkley in the backfield and the loss of Kelce is going to compensate for that, you're high. That's the point. You think you upgraded at running back. I don't. I want to see it. You surely haven't upgraded at center. It's not hypothetical. Dude, the point was you signing Barkley and losing Kelce's not a wash. That's the point. It's not a hypothetical. That's a reality. That's not a hypothetical. What's his name? Dave goes, who's that running back? Who cares? You've had Miles Sanders and you've had DeAndre Swift the last 2 years average 1,300 yards. Does it matter? And you stopped running the ball in the second half of the season last year. Did it matter last year? It's not. How is that a hypothetical? If you think signing Barkley and losing Kelce is a wash, that's not a wash. It's not a wash. That's not a hypothetical. Okay? I mean, I don't know what you're talking about. Miles Sanders was Saquon's backup. We got the real thing now. You're going to find out. I don't believe it. He's never been the second player in the draft. He's never lived up to that. And with 2 injuries in the last 4 years, no way. Tell you what, Sanders is more healthier of a player than what Barkley is. And I know Sanders missed last year. They're the same, actually. They must have a separate chat. Oh, so what you're talking about there. Excuse me. Sills, Becton grabbing the RG position and being ready. I'd love to see him get that. Look, they're talking really highly of Tyler Steen, things about him. We paid $11 million for a babysitter, only pass protecting. Well, he is an upgrade there at pass protecting. The man rushed for 1,000 yards with the worst. He did not rush for 1,000 yards last year. He did not rush for 1,000 yards. The guy who had the worst O-line in football last year was actually the guy in Baltimore now. He is the guy who had the worst O-line in Tennessee. Okay? These fanboys trying their hardest. Hey, flexing, I know, right? Boy, I tell you, man. Woo! I got to give it to you, man. All right. The challenges that you're going to face in 2024. I can't wait to hear this one. So, Vic Fangio, DC, never won a Super Bowl. Kellen Moore, never won a Super Bowl. OC, and Nick. What would you give your coaching staff a grade of? What would that coaching staff, what would you give it a grade of? Vic Fangio, Kellen Moore, and Nick Sirianni. What would you say? Well, high end, a B. C. The new staff, brand new, right now. Guys like to say, stop talking about the 1-7 right now. B minus, C. BBC. Okay. What makes you so qualified to talk the way you talk? What makes me so qualified? What in the world does being qualified have to do when you've got assholes on the air at WIP that hold symposiums and sit there like they're psychiatrists? Are you okay, Nick? Are they qualified? Qualified? Well, maybe because I played the sport a bit. Been around some of the greatest minds of all time. Okay. What would you say? C plus? Okay. So let's go through what you're going to have to face this coming season. Let's start with September 6th. Jordan Love, Matt LaFleur's the head coach, play caller. And the defensive coordinator is Jeff Hadley. Who wins the matchup there going in? Whose coaching staff would you rather have? Vic Fangio, Kellen Moore? Jalen Hurts, you got to put that. Would you rather have Hurts? And for the record, I would never start my team if I was building a football team with Jalen Hurts over Jordan Love long term. Never happened. Hurts, Vic, Kellen Moore, or Nick? Who would you give the advantage to in that September 6th game? Green Bay or the Eagles? And by the way, they're bringing the entire staff back except for the DC. Who do you have the advantage of? Green Bay? Who has the advantage in that September 6th? Green Bay? I think you guys are right. Green Bay has the advantage. Right? Okay. Let's go to Atlanta. Kirk Cousins, Raheem Morris, Super Bowl winning defensive coordinator, Zach Robinson, first year on the job as the OC. Who do you give the advantage to? Hurts, Vic, Kellen and Nick. Who gets the advantage in that Atlanta game? Last year, you said every team Eagles faced, and whatever. DFW Sports says Atlanta. Kimberly, Falcons. Philly, but it's close. I give it to Philly. I think Philadelphia has the advantage here. Vic? Is Vic a better D coordinator than Raheem? No. Is Kellen a better coordinator than Zach Robinson? Zach Robinson, I think this is the first year being a coordinator in Atlanta. That would go to Kellen. And Kirk Cousins winning a game on Monday night versus Jalen. I'm going to go with the Eagles on that one. I take the Birds on that one. I think they'll be okay coordinating against that Atlanta team. Plus, Atlanta's got some holes on the football team. And that's Kelly Green. You're right. And you got the talent. You're right. I'm gonna take the Birds in that one. Here's New Orleans. Derek Carr, Dennis Allen, who's the head coach, but really the DC of the team. They've always had really great DCs. And Clint Kubiak, first-time OC, versus Hurts, Fangio, Kellen Moore, and Nick. Well, I'm going Birds again. I think you got more talent in the coaching staff and that quarterback. That's what this exercise is. And then the intangible would probably be who's got the more talent, obviously. But it didn't matter last year. You had talent last year. You had people doing great things last year, and you failed. Again, I don't see a lot of differences this year than last year. I think you're going to be the same team. Win 12, 11 games, and get knocked out in the playoffs again. Nothing's going to be different. You're going to put up the same numbers. You're going to put up the same amount of scoring, and nothing's going to change. I don't see anything different. This will be interesting here. Tampa Bay. Actually, if you think about it, Todd Bowles is 2-1 in the last 3 games versus the Eagles. How's that possible? Todd Bowles is 2-1 versus Philly. And 2 of them are in the playoffs. Baker Mayfield, Todd Bowles, outstanding DC, and another Super Bowl winning defensive coordinator. And Liam Cohen. Hear good things. Bruce Arians. This is a Bruce Arians suggestion on the hiring of this guy to be the coordinator. Baker Mayfield, Todd Bowles. You guys like to bring up that. What's that thing you guys beat Josh Allen? Baker Mayfield. He's 1-1 versus you guys. And Todd Bowles is 2-1 versus you. I'm going Bucks here. Last game, they kicked the shit out of you. I'm going Bucks. That's a better staff. And he's 2-1. Record's got to matter. Some of you look at Nick Sirianni's record and call him the greatest coach in the history of the Philadelphia Eagles. Well, it's got to matter to Todd too, doesn't it? This is a beauty right here. Deshaun Watson, Kevin Stefanski, and Jim Schwartz. Not a question. Cleveland advantage over the Eagles in coaching and quarterback. As a group, Cleveland all night. How in the world did that football team do the things that they did last year with all the quarterbacks that they had to go through? And Kevin Stefanski's a hell of a coach, and he's actually a play calling head coach. Schwartz was the NFL Assistant of the Year. I mean, so in the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of the first 5 games, the opposing teams have the quarterback, head coach, and coordinator advantages going in. And you have probably the talent advantage. Kind of like last year. Let's go to the Giants. Daniel Jones, Brian Dable, and Shane Bowen. I go Birds here. I think Brian Dable's a good coordinator. I think Daniel Jones stinks. And I don't know anything about Shane Bowen. He may be good. But you go Giants here. You go Birds here. Cincinnati. Hey, did you see that preposterous post on my X where people were trying to compare Jalen Hurts to Joe Burrow? Joe Burrow's missed 14 games. And they put up these stats next to Joe Burrow. Nobody in their mind Jalen Hurts over Joe Burrow. Oh, my God. I was like, hey, man. Nobody in their mind would take Jalen Hurts over Joe. Oh, my God. Holy cow, man. They put it, you guys missed 14 ball games in 4 years. See, look at the stat. You're like, come, dude, guy's been to 2 AFC title games and he's been injured and he's been to a Super Bowl himself. Good grief. Beat the living piss out of the 49ers last year. Jalen got annihilated by them. And Jalen Hurts over Joe Burrow. Oh, man. So Cincinnati. Okay. Joe Burrow, Zach Taylor, and Lou Anarumo. Cincinnati all night. Oh, this one's going to be fun. By the way, this is the hire of the offseason here. Jacksonville, Trevor Lawrence, Doug Peterson, and Ryan Nielsen. Ryan Nielsen's the hire of the offseason. Everybody. Brilliant mind. There's not a chance in hell the Eagles have the advantage here. Coaching, coordinators, and the quarterback. As a group, we're not just comparing quarterbacks here. We're comparing coaching staffs. So wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. First 8 games. The opposing team has the advantage 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of the 8 games. You think coaching matters? You guys told me that the coordinators last year sucked in Philly. So coaching matters, right? Coaching matters, right? Right? Coaching matters. Oh, wait. Unless we're doing this. Dallas. Dak Prescott. Mike McCarthy, Super Bowl winning head football coach. Mike Zimmer has won a Super Bowl on that coaching staff that Jimmy Johnson put together. Dallas all night. Washington, by the way, their head-to-head matchup record indicates, too, they blow you out. I mean, there's a reason Dak's 9-4. Washington, Jaden Daniels, Dan Quinn, and Cliff Kingsbury, the play caller. So you have Cliff Kingsbury as the offensive play caller and Dan Quinn as the coordinator on defense. And Daniels. This one's interesting because I don't know what Daniels is going to look like. And I have to be fair. Hang on here, Kimberly. Washington, you can't give the nod because you don't know if the quarterback's game fits to the NFL yet until you see him throw a ball. We didn't know what Stroud was going to look like until we saw Stroud get on the field. Let's see what he looks like. Okay? Nick goes like this. You said Eagles will sweep Dallas. Stop flipping. I didn't say that they wouldn't beat them. I said they have a better coaching staff and quarterback. You're missing the whole fucking thing, Nick. Had nothing to do with that, Nick. I never said any of that right now. That's not what this exercise is, jackass. Who has the better coach, coordinator, and quarterback? I'm not telling you who's winning here. I'm telling you who's got better coaches. And the combined with the quarterback. Nobody said anything about going through the schedule and how many wins there are going to be. Nobody's talking that. I'm telling you who's got a better coaching staff because you guys have been talking to me the last 2 months that coaching matters and that the reason that Jalen sucked so bad last year was because of coaching. Okay, if coaching matters, who are you lined up against this year? Do you have the advantage or not in coaching? Yes or no? That's all this is, guy. It's all this is. Don't get butthurt, Nick. Got you, Nick. All good, brother. All good. I'm not saying who's going to win, Nick. By the way, you ready for this, Nick? If you really want to, hey, for this, I'll say this to you. Watch this, Nick. Dude, there's no question. But you had it last year, the more talented roster, but it didn't matter. This comes down to coaching. That's what we're talking about. You guys have been telling me, Xander too, have been telling me coaching was not good last year. Well, do you have the advantage this year in the opponents you're facing? No, you don't. This is a tricky one, this Washington one. I'm going to have to go Birds here. Not by a lot, because I just don't know what Jaden Daniels is going to look like. I thought Dan Quinn did a great job with Jalen in Dallas. They crushed him last year. In Dallas, they blew the doorknobs off him, crushed him. Wasn't even a factor. That game wasn't even competitive, actually. So it just going to come down to the quarterback. Now, if the quarterback is anything, Washington's going to be scary. And I told you, I predict that Washington wins the NFC East, in my opinion. Okay? I don't think the NFC East is a very strong division because I don't think the Cowboys are good. I think the Cowboys have a good coaching staff. This is not even a no-brainer. So I'm going to give you the advantage in Washington. Rams? Who are you kidding? Stafford, McVay, and Chris Shula. Do you understand that every coordinator that Sean McVay has hired on defense has taken a team to the Super Bowl? Wade Phillips and Raheem Morris. Every defensive coordinator that Sean McVay and Les Snead and Kevin Demoff have hired have gone to Super Bowls. Nobody on the planet would go Hurts, Kellen Moore, and Vic over Stafford and McVay are two winning Super Bowl combination coach and play caller and quarterback. And Chris Shula, and they don't make mistakes. I would make this comment to you. Sean McVay is the best play caller as a head coach in the NFL. I might take him over Andy Reid because he's taken two different quarterbacks to Super Bowls. Reid has two. The Cowboys are returning most all pros in the NFL. 304. You have no running back. You lost the center. Your defense has been exposed, and I don't believe that you've addressed your run defense. Your linebackers are okay. You don't have a second or third wide receiver. I don't know where you're going to get continuity from. You have you're and key positions. You got corners, correct. And I would even make this point. Across the back end, I think your defense is right up there with some of the best defenses in the league. Safeties and also corners. There's nobody in the league better. Like the Eagles are not even in the same area code as the Cowboys in the secondary. You know why? These are all proven all pros. From the safety position to the corner position. Funny how Eagle fan thinks that they're as good as the Cowboys when they have no guys back there that have any kind of game experience. But the Cowboys have all pros. Right? Sills, it's not the X's and O's of coaching. The question is, can these coordinators keep the team together when something goes wrong? The coordinators last year could not right the ship. Well, that's because you had too many people from the front office in the way of those coaches. Coaches can't do their jobs when you got people in their ear all the time. You don't know if Brian Johnson's a good coach, or you don't know if Sean Desai's a good coach or not. I'll tell you what, when Sean Desai was replaced, he was 10-2 as a coordinator and had beaten numerous all-pro quarterbacks in the league. As a matter of fact, I don't think that Sean Desai – where is Sean Desai now? Is he with the Rams? What a shocker. Is Sean Desai with the Rams? Did Sean McVay hire him? God, I hope not. Did Sean McVay hire him? Is he in Los Angeles? Command? No. Nick, I think you're talking Brian Johnson. I'm talking about Sean Desai. Is he in Los Angeles? Jameson, yeah? Sean Desai's with the Rams. So you've got a guy with the Rams who was a coordinator that was 10-2 before he was fired. And now he's an assistant coach with the Rams. That's not a shocker. That's not a shocker. Wow, that's a really good coaching staff, the Rams. Rams have massive upgrade at coaching. Just so good. They make such good hires. Okay? Such good hires. If the Eagles swept the Cowboys this year, you're going to tell Eagle fan that Dallas had the worst or better coach. That you can have the – hey, look at Steven here not know anything about coaching. He's under the guise right now that Bill Belichick's a shitty coach because he gets beat by teams. You can have the best coaching staff on the planet, but if you don't have the best personnel, it all has to fit together. That's why one-loss records like Nick Sirianni's is fool's gold. He's not a good coach. Let me ask you this, my friend. Would you hire Doug Peterson or Andy Reid over Nick Nick's got a better record. He's won more. Who would you hire? Who would you hire, my friend? Doug or Andy? Or would you hire the guy with the best win percentage in Eagle history? Who would you hire? Who would you hire? Go ahead. I'm very interested to see who you'd say. I'm very interested. Sills, I agree on front office interference, but he's decided Johnson could have kept things together. It might have kept Howie in his office. They panicked. They absolutely panicked. Steve goes, Nick hasn't won more. Oh, that's not true. You got people in here who call him the greatest coach in the history of the Eagles because Doug and Andy lost all those games at the end of their last year. Both guys had 4-win seasons, and that's why they were fired. But there's people in here that would take Nick because Nick's got a better win percentage. So in your eyes, you would take Nick too. Is that right? Over Andy Reid and Doug. Right? Or Vermeil, for that matter. Vermeil's about 520 win percentage. He's won 500% of his games. Nothing stellar. So you'd hire Nick over Vermeil, Andy Reid, and Doug because he wins more. All right. All right. I'd take Nick over Doug with a quarterback smart enough to run his offense. All you need to know about your quarterback and your head coach is the Super Bowls. Doug was made for Jalen, not knee pad Nick. All you got to remember is just a bit Philly, dude. Go ahead and run it. Imagine the analytics guys. Jeffrey Lurie would have probably had a powwow or a sit down on why he ran the play. You imagine if he didn't win the Super Bowl, what Lurie would have done? He may have fired him for running that play. May have fired him. May have fired him. Doug accomplished nothing without the coordinators he had in 17. Well, how come you can't put those same type of coordinators together now, my friend? Frank Reich, Jim Schwartz, a future head coach, a former head coach, and Doug Peterson. How come you couldn't put that staff together and you can't duplicate that staff now? You know why? Because the Eagles don't want to. You hired, once again, a coordinator that doesn't fit the quarterback skill set. And everyone has been telling me he's going to change if he's a good coordinator. Why wouldn't you have just hired the guy that fits Jalen's skill set? Wouldn't that have been a simpler transition? I mean, that doesn't make sense again. So Kellen Moore has to completely change the way he builds offenses, right? It doesn't make sense. I was listening to the guys on Birds 365 this morning. I'm going, because John McMullen was going, hey, I don't want them to change Jalen. Okay, so that means Kellen has to completely change. Or run Dak's offense, or a variation of it. Something. Prince goes, Nick Foles made the call to run the play, and Doug said, okay. You ain't running that play without the head coach okaying that. But the head coach had faith in his player. God. You know how many coaches would have said no? I wonder if Andy would have said yes. One of the greatest moments, coach-player. In a game that was going back and forth. It was like a duel. The game was going back and forth. Nobody was stopping anybody. Let's go to Baltimore now. So let's take a look at this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 11 opponents. Remember, the NFC East is twice. So 11 opponents. The opposing team, quarterback, coordinator-wise, has the advantage 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 out of the 11 games you're playing. You're going to be an underdog this year in pretty much the majority of the football games you're playing this year. When it comes to coaching and connecting with the quarterback. Right? I think Andy would have said yes also. Jason, I think so too. I think so too. Hey, Sills, if Reed was the coach of the Eagles and Mahomes was the quarterback of this team, they'd be undefeated, especially with this offensive talent. My friend, Adam, if Andy Reid was the offensive coordinator and Patrick Mahomes was in Philly, you would be talking about a generational team, and you would be talking about something of point differential beatings. They would beat opponents probably by 18 points, 14 points, something like that. Something in there. Okay. They didn't lose coordinators in Baltimore. They lost a coordinator. By the way, if Nick Sirianni got fired, I'd love to have Todd Monken, as long as Jalen Hurts is your quarterback, as the head football coach of your Eagles. That's the next team, Baltimore. Lamar Jackson, Todd Monken, John Harbaugh, and Zach Orr, the new coordinator on defense. However, you go Baltimore, reigning MVP. Monken coached the MVP. And Harbaugh's a Super Bowl winning head coach and guy who hired Monken. And let me ask you this. You think they get hirings wrong in Baltimore? You think that guy's had bad hires in Baltimore? Okay. JM goes, Monken is just Frankensteining together his failed offense with Romans, which led to the most valuable player in the National Football League last year and 14 wins. That's some slapping together. Look how, what's his name, just embarrassed himself. He just said that Todd Monken slapped together an offense that lost in the AFC title game to the future Super Bowl champions. And he had a reigning MVP, and he won the MVP award, and they won 14 ball games. That's something else on slapping together a defense. Baltimore. Carolina. Bryce Young, Dave Canales, and Giro Rivero. Eagles all day. This Pittsburgh one is going to be interesting. Name one OC that doesn't adjust their scheme to fit the quarterback talent cells. Okay. Let's see. Most guys aren't hired to do that. Todd Monken was hired because of RPO. Most coaches that are offensive coordinators aren't hired to change their offensive playbook. Kyle Shanahan couldn't change his playbook. That's why Trey Lance failed. He went back to Brock Purdy, somebody that looked like Garoppolo. Prime example right there. Coordinators, there are smart coordinators, don't change their playbook and their mentality and how they. Nick Sirianni couldn't do it. He's a Phillip Rivers guy. So you're asking the wrong question. Name me a coordinator that had to change. Kellen Moore? Kyle Shanahan didn't change. By the way, Kyle Shanahan tried to change. They drafted Trey Lance. Niner all day, right? Kyle Shanahan actually tried to change. They drafted an RPO guy. He couldn't do it. They realized he wasn't the guy, and they went back to traditional drop back. He didn't change. He tried to, but didn't work. Kyle Shanahan failed, but Kellen Moore won't. Okay. Right? Right? I like that question, actually. I do. Carolina won. All birds. How about Pittsburgh? Russell Wilson. Mike Tomlin, who's a hell of a defensive coordinator. And Arthur Smith, former head coach of the Atlanta Falcons. Who'd you take in this one? Eagles or Steelers? Eagles or Steelers? And this one here. Maxon goes Steelers. Kellen is Nick Jr. He just keeps hoping for a head coaching job every year and is willing to be a yes man to do so. Nick says Eagles close. Kellen Moore changed because when he was first in Dallas, he never ran RPOs with the quarterback. Not true. Hey, Dallas Cowboy fans that are in here, and I know some of you are in here, will you please tell these Eagle people he never ran RPOs with the quarterback? Kellen Moore in Dallas. Will people please tell them that? Will some of you guys, 304, I know you watch the show, an Ultra Cowboy, will you tell these Eagle guys he never ran RPOs with Dak Prescott? I mean, I don't know what you're talking about. He never ran RP. Here, I'm going to do this the last time. The last time here. I'll show you how many rushing attempts that Dak Prescott had in his time in Dallas under Kellen Moore. Okay, he did run a couple each game until Dak broke his leg and he stopped. Amen. Dak Prescott stats. Here you go. Here's as many attempts rushing in a season, while Jalen Hurts averages 150 or more runs a year. Okay? This is what Dak Prescott did in Dallas, running the ball in attempts. 57, 57, 75, 52, 25, 45, 45. This last year under Mike, 55. Dude, Jalen Hurts runs the ball between 150 and 180 times a year. Where in the world do you keep saying Kellen ran RPOs with the quarterback? It is not true. You're making it up to make the coordinator seem more of a fit, and he's not. Good God. Got to be kidding me. That gives, hey, I'm just telling you, that's still running. The reason that they don't have to run an RPO in Dallas is because the quarterback is a better arm thrower and better in the arm talent than Hurts. He throws for 4,600 yards. So in a game, get this, the average is 49. Okay, Jalen Hurts. Let's do this. This is so dumb that I'm even going down here with this. Jalen Hurts stats. Let's do this. Hurts stats. Here. Hurts. His rushing attempts. $140, 165, 157. As an average, he averages 10 to 11 carries a game. Dak averages here. Dak averages in RPOs a game. My God, you can't even add some of you. 48 divided by 17. He averages 3 carries a game. 2.8. This guy runs the ball 2 times a game. That's RPO? That's RPO. Week 5 of the 2023 season. Stills calls Jalen a better passer than Lamar. He is. He is a better passer. I don't think Lamar Jackson's a very good passer. Okay, you're welcome. Kellen Moore wasn't hired to change his own scheme. Okay, so he was hired to change the way Jalen plays. Well, that's not what those guys were talking about this morning. Everyone's like, hey, no way. Kellen's going to change. Okay. Kellen's going to change. Right? Because people are saying, I don't want to see my quarterback. I want an offense that fits his skill set. Well, that's not what Kellen Moore is. And no coordinator in the NFL that's a really good one. Hey, do you think Sean McVay is going to change his system for a quarterback? Or is he going to go find a quarterback that fits his system like Matthew Stafford? The reason he moved off of Jared Goff is why. He wanted a quarterback that fit his system more. Doesn't that tell you the NFL, with these great coordinators, they find quarterbacks and skill sets to fit what they want to do because it makes it seamless transition. Bringing a coordinator in to have him change who he is so the quarterback it fits him is not what you're doing today in the NFL. That's old style thinking. Hired the wrong guy again. But, and here's what everyone will say. Well, I have confidence he'll get it done. Why? Didn't last year. Dude, Kellen Moore has as much play calling experience running an RPO system as Brian Johnson does. Or as Nick Sirianni does. Eagles beat the Chiefs, and 49ers beat the Eagles. What's that mean? No shit, 49ers choked, and Purdy. If the Commanders trade for Brandon Ayuk, today's supposed to be the come to Jesus conversation between the organization and John Lynch and Brandon Ayuk. It's an RPO run pass option. Dude, they run it twice a game in Dallas. Dumbass. You run it 12 to 13 times a game. Dumbass. That's why the season is make or break for Jalen. Jalen will be exposed once again that he isn't a pocket passer. He'll never be. That's why Todd Monken, Xander said something really great this morning. Monken knows that he's not a great passer. He knows that. He totally knows that. Sills, yesterday you said Dak would have a better market than Jalen, and I agree. And I'm all in on Jalen. What about Dak and Lamar? Who has more suitors? Dak. Dak would have more suitors. He's a passer. He's a pocket passer. Lamar is a guy you have to streamline an offense to. In today's NFL, Lamar Jackson and Jalen Hurts are not what the league likes because they're not throwing for enormous yards and numbers. Why do you think fantasy football is so big in today's NFL and that the NFL has even made an investment in it? You know why? Gambling. Big numbers. That's why. Senior goes like this. 0 MVPs for Dak, 2-time MVP for Lamar. And they pretty much have the same playoff record. Do they not? Got the same playoff record, don't they? I heard these guys say something about Dallas Goedert. But I also want to start it with this. Let's bring our guy Xander on here.
What's up, Big Sills?
By the way, you're killing it with that show.
What's that, brother?
You're killing it with that show in the morning.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate that. What's up, everybody in the chat? How's everybody doing?
Let me ask you this. You think there's too much noise around the team this offseason?
No, I think a lot of it is. I mean, I think there's noise. I think there's probably more noise than other organizations, but I don't think. I think a lot of that is a product of the collapse last year. But look, it's a new season. I think we're ready to move forward. And I think it goes back to that. I don't think it's a problem, and I think it's fair to talk about it all. But I don't think there's too much noise to. Is my mic loud, Big Sills?
No, you're good.
All right, somebody said turn my mic down. No, I don't think it's a problem. I really don't. I mean, there is a lot of noise, but in a way, the Eagles like that. In a way, the Eagles are probably happy to be in the news, but none of it seems like it's catastrophic, if that makes sense. It kind of just seems like, all right, there's some things we can speculate. There's some things that maybe don't look great, but it's a wait and see thing, right? Like when they hit the field in September, we're going to know right away whether, it was an off season of nothing burgers or we're going to have a new coach next year. So, I'm waiting for the season, but I'm all good with it, brother.
What's the obsession with explosion plays with that team?
I think it goes to I think it's their entire philosophy, right? It goes to their defense too, because their entire defense is built on stopping explosive plays. So you can clearly see there's a philosophy in the organization that big plays offensively and stopping them defensively go a long way in winning football games. And in a way, they're right. A lot of data does support that, where if you can limit big plays and you can create big plays, you increase your chances at winning the football game. And so I don't have a problem with it. Where I have a problem with it is I think they went too far with it. Like, I don't think you need to die on the hill of creating big plays. Like, that's where I'm like, Jalen, don't be afraid to take the dump off every once in a while. Don't be afraid to take the 5 yards. Don't be afraid to hit the guy across the middle. And that's where I think Brady was so good. Not to compare Jalen to Brady, but just speaking about somebody who had major right. Speaking about somebody who had major success, I think that would help our football team. I think that would help our offense. And explosive plays are good. You have AJ Brown, right? You have Devontae Smith. You have explosive players. Jalen Hurts is an explosive player, but I don't want them to go so far to that it looked like it did at the end of last year, where it became predictable. It became easy to cover, and ultimately, the offense came to a stalemate because of it.
I don't think explosion plays win Super Bowls. I think because I'll tell you what, the last couple Super Bowl teams that have won it have not been explosion plays. Now, I will give the Rams a little bit more because he does like to get the ball down the field plus 15. So, if anything, McVay is probably that guy in the last 10 years. But I wouldn't consider Kansas City an explosion offense, would you? I can't even name their wideouts.
No, I wouldn't consider them an explosion offense, but I would consider them capable of the explosive play. Right? They're able to.
They don't have explosive players.
They have Patrick Mahomes, Dan.
Okay. They don't have AJ Brown like you mentioned and Devontae Smith.
They don't have that.
Point. They have Kelsey, which is, hey, dude, Kelsey will go down as one of the top 3 pass catching tight ends in pro football history. That's a thing.
Yeah, and if he didn't have Patrick Mahomes, he would not have that title.
Agreed. That's a thing.
Look, I don't have a problem with explosive plays. I don't want to make the offense suck because all you care about is getting them. I think there's a time and a place for them, right? Dink and dunk, there's a time and place for that too, but you can't do it forever. So I think there's a balance. That seems to be an emerging theme too right now for me in the offseason is balance, right? A lot of people are talking about how we're going to use Saquon, how we're going to use Jalen. Are we going to turn Jalen into something he's not? Are we going to, try and create Brock Purdy out of him? I think it's a balance. It's all about a balance. That's all Kellen Moore has to do is create a balance on the offense where you're using AJ Brown the right amount. You're using short throws the right amount. You're passing out of the backfield the right amount. Jalen Hurts is running the ball the right amount. I don't want to go too far one way or too far the other way. I think a balanced offense would be a great approach for this team, and let the playmakers make plays, man. Like, you almost don't need to overthink this. You have Jalen Hurts, AJ Brown, Devontae Smith, Saquon Barkley, Dallas Goedert, and a top 5 O-line. Let that thing go to work. Let the cookie fall where it may, and I think it'll work out.
Here's something that I heard you say this morning, and I think it was you, and John actually echoed it. I think when you guys, I think we're talking Big Bill.
Yeah, he was great today, Dan. He was great today.
He was good. He was good. I'll say this to you. So you guys both agreed, I think. You said, look, I want Kellen Moore to create an offense that fits Jalen Hurts' skill set, right? Right? Yeah, that's what you're hoping. Sean McVay never changed his skill set and how he approaches. You know what he did? Xander, you know what he said? No, I need a different quarterback in here from Jared Goff to help me get our team across the finish line to play my system. He didn't change. You think Kyle Shanahan tried to change with Trey Lance when he realized that was a disaster? He went back to his comfort zone. You know what that was? Drop back quarterback. So those guys failed. Those guys did not change the way that they play call and their playbook. They went and got personnel that fit that play calling system. So in those organizations, the McVays and the Kyle Shanahans are more of a priority than the quarterback in so many ways, because those are the guys that are going to get them across the finish line. My point to you is, so you are saying this, Kellen Moore has got to change his entirety on how he builds an offense and how he play calls for Jalen Hurts. It's a brand new guy. What's the difference between him and Brian Johnson? because he's been a coordinator for 5 years? True. Yes, no question. However, he's doing something brand new here, Xander, and building something brand new for a quarterback in a style he's never been on the same page with.
I see what you're getting at. I think there's more context there than you're lending out for the sake of the argument, which I understand. Jared Goff has turned into a tremendous quarterback for a team that has built around him. So Sean McVay didn't want him to be his quarterback, but that doesn't mean that the other decision would have worked. It worked for Sean, but it also worked for Goff. So like,
well, he did get his Super Bowl the way he wanted it.
Well, he did, but my point is that Goff has gone on to be successful. Now, it wasn't exactly what Sean wanted, and Sean had the ability, luckily for him, he had say in the organization to be like, hey, I don't want this guy, and they were able to make a move and go and get him. I don't think that's what the Eagles want. I hope they don't want that, because why would you pay Jalen Hurts if that's what you want? They're not going to be more loyal to Kellen Moore than they are going to be to Jalen Hurts, and nor should they be. I mean, with talking about McVay, they traded him before he got the contract.
Well, I would tell you this.
Did he get the contract out there?
What?
Wait, did he get it? He did get an extension in LA, didn't he?
Oh, yes.
Goff. And then they traded him after.
Yes.
Yeah, right. That was more like a Wentz deal.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I see what you're saying. I definitely see what you're saying.
Well, remember this. I think the Rams, that would you agree? The Rams value Sean McVay more than they value Stafford.
Yeah, definitely.
Wouldn't you think that they value Kyle Shanahan more in San Francisco than they do Purdy?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
The clock is ticking though on him.
Yo, who? Kyle?
Yeah.
Yeah, a little bit. I do. Because you know why?
Should be,
the money window's closing in on him. The money window.
Yeah, right. You're already seeing it with the Ayuk stuff, and
because today they're meeting.
Here's the problem. Like, I'm not a Purdy hater. I think a lot of people are too hard on Purdy, but here's where I get into territory of like, how much you going to pay Brock Purdy?
60.
See,
he just played Trevor Lawrence. 55.
I know I can win with Brock Purdy, and I like the guy. I am not a hater of Brock Purdy like many others are, but boy, I ain't giving him $60 million. To me, it's a Baker Mayfield deal or a Daniel Jones deal.
Would you give Trevor Lawrence $55 million?
No, but at least I can understand like the player, he hasn't lived up to it, but he has this, and maybe it's just narrative and it's just perception.
First pick overall.
This upside that everybody's been dreaming about. Trevor Lawrence, he's this big, tall guy with this huge arm. Like, that's where I think that's gotten conflated with him. Whether it's right or wrong, I'm not ready to make that declaration, but Brock Purdy, I just don't see that with. I think you can win with him, but he's a guy that needs to be elevated. He needs the roster probably, and he's not an elevator. So we'll see what they end up doing with him. But it's an interesting point about the whole trading the quarterback that you don't want thing. I get it, but what's your point? Like, you think the Eagles are looking to go that direction?
No. I'm just no. What I'm saying is that you already know this. June 25th, and I know you're going to hate this comment. But on June 25th, Jalen Hurts has a new coordinator, June 25th, 2025. He has a new coordinator. You already know it right now. You know it right now, Xander. He has a new coordinator. What?
I don't think that's true.
Okay, what? Okay, so if he wins, he's getting a job.
Yeah, but
if he loses, you're firing him.
Okay, let me ask this. Is my internet okay, right? You can hear me?
Yeah, you're great.
Okay. All right, someone just told me it's not. Why didn't Kellen Moore get hired as a head coach after the Dallas had the #1 ranked offense in the league with him as the coordinator?
I don't know.
So why are you so sure? Why are you so sure?
He interviewed for the Eagle job.
I know he didn't. He didn't get it. He's now been through several hiring cycles of head coaching where he didn't get it.
That's why he'll get one now. Because if Jalen Hurts was a MVP candidate last year even and the year before, he puts that team in the NFC title game, he will get a head coaching job.
I'm not ready to say that.
He would have been credited with turning around Hurts.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean he's guaranteed to get a head coaching job. If he goes to the Super Bowl, if they go to the Super Bowl, yeah, I think you're going to have a Shane Steichen situation. But I'm not going to complain because we made it back to the Super Bowl.
What do you think the odds are that the next year, this time, there's a new coordinator on offense in Philly when you've had 4 already in the last 3 years?
I'd say like 35%.
You've changed coordinators out every year just about.
That's not true. Not every year. Shane Steichen had 2 years.
Hold on. Here's how many coordinators he's had. Nick, Shane, Brian, and now Kellen. That's 4 in 3 years.
Yeah, but 2 of them were both within a season.
Okay.
And then Shane had reigns for 2 years.
Year and a half.
Year and a half. The second year is when it really started going with Shane.
Doesn't that tell you something, too, that the first time that they got it rolling with Shane, they had some patience with Shane?
That's not really true, actually. And
Actually, they did. They brought him back because he was the coordinator the following year.
Yeah, but here's what you're leaving out. The Eagles were 2-5 when Shane took over.
Okay. And when they saw it rolling, like I said, they brought it back and they won 14 games with him. They, in theory, gave that guy more time and more autonomy to get that offense rolling. Will they give Kellen Moore that?
I think they should. How many weeks is it going to take Kellen Moore to get up to speed?
9.
I think it'll be quicker than 9.
Why? It wasn't a year ago. You have the same talent. Xander, that's funny because I hear you and John say this. You had 11 wins. You had all these guys have all these great years last year. What's going to be different this year?
You got more experienced coordinators. Brian Johnson has never called a down in the NFL before last season. Kellen Moore has been responsible for the number 1 ranked offense in the NFL.
And has been fired 2 years in a row.
Yeah, that's a bad look. But my point is that he's done it. So it is a different situation than Brian Johnson is or was.
Okay. You want to play a game? I want to play a game with you here because I want to get your perspective because these people didn't like my takes on this. And by the way, I liked what you guys did today, so I expanded it a little bit. I'm not going down and trying to pick out wins and losses with the upcoming 24. I'm asking you who has the better coaches going into these matchups and who has the advantage because, as you just been saying here, coaching matters, right?
Yeah, it matters. I think players matter more, but I think coaching matters for sure.
Okay. So let's do this. Hurts, Vic Fangio, Kellen Moore, and Nick Sirianni. In your opinion, Green Bay, September 6th, Jordan Love, Matt LaFleur calls the plays, and Jeff Hafley, the D coordinator in Green Bay. Who would you give the advantage in that game to coaching-wise and quarterback-wise?
I think Green Bay. I think Matt LaFleur is a better offensive mind than Kellen Moore is. And that was proven when Jordan Love took over the reins and everybody said, "Oh,
me wrong."
Was it Aaron Rodgers? Aaron
Right.
Rodgers leaves and he turns Jordan Love already into a perennial player who looks like he could be a really good quarterback in this league. So obviously it's got to go for another season, but I think Matt LaFleur is a really good play caller. I'll go with the Packers there. Not defensively though. We're not talking defense though right now, right? We're talking offense.
No, we're talking coaching staffs and all.
Their defensive coordinator, I don't like him.
Hey, the threesome. I don't really know who the hell he is. Okay,
I don't either. He's a college guy. It was a weird
Ohio State guy.
Yeah, college dude.
Yeah, he coached at Ohio State. Was there in 19? They won a national title, what have you. But I don't know always if that translates. So let's go to the Atlanta game. This is Monday night, by the way. Kirk Cousins, Raheem Morris, Super Bowl DC, and Zach Robinson, the offensive coordinator. Who has the advantage here, Eagles or Falcons?
Definitely the Eagles here. First year head coach, right, from Raheem?
Yeah, no, this is second time.
Second year? Yeah.
He coached in Tampa years ago. Now this is a second opportunity to
be
a head coach.
It's a first year in Atlanta. No, I'm not giving that.
First year in Atlanta.
The only thing I'll say about their coaching staff is that they're a defensive-minded coaching staff, and some of those guys have been able to lock Jalen Hurts' offense up. I think of Todd Bowles in Tampa Bay often. I mean, those 2 playoff games was when Those, you could actually argue the 2 playoff games in Tampa Bay were the 2 worst games of Jalen Hurts' career.
Yeah.
As a pro. You really could. Now, I'm not saying they are. I'm just saying you could make the argument those were his 2 worst games. And that's because Todd Bowles, really knows how to lock him down. And so there's a major credit to him for that, for sure. But overall, I don't think back to the Falcons. I don't think the Falcons have a better staff than the Eagles. No way.
And quarterback too. No, I don't either. I think the Eagles have the advantage here. Okay.
Yeah. Good.
New Orleans, Derek Carr. Dallas Allen has done a nice job defensively. I just don't think anything of him as a head coach. And they got a brand new kid in there, and he's a young kid. He's Gary Kubiak's son. It's Clint Kubiak. He's the new offensive coordinator. So Derek Carr, Dennis Allen, Clint Kubiak, quarterback coach advantage goes to who here? Eagles or New Orleans?
Eagles.
Eagles.
Definitely Eagles. Yeah. Are you a Dennis Allen guy? I'm not a Dennis Allen guy.
I like Dennis Allen as a defensive guy. I'd like to have him as a coordinator, but as a head coach, no way.
Yep, I'm with you on that. I'll take the Eagles in that all day.
How about this one? This is going to be interesting. Baker Mayfield, Todd Bowles, who's 2-1 versus the Eagles, and Liam Cohen, who was a hire by Bruce Arians. He was, according to Jason Light, this was a hand-picked all OC. So he's got a lot of Bruce Arians in him. Who do you give the advantage to, quarterback and coaching staff-wise? Do you give it to the Bucs or the Eagles here?
I'm going to go the Eagles, and I'll tell you why. I think I'll give Todd Bowles the advantage over Nick Sirianni. I think just because of just for a matchup. I don't even know if Todd's a better head coach, but I mean, for this type of matchup, I think Todd is better suited in this type of a game where you need a defensive guy that can lock up, our offense and all those playmakers. But I think we have the better quarterback, and I think we have the better offensive coordinator. I don't know what. He's done a good job down there. Did they get a new offensive coordinator? The Panthers.
Yeah, the guy's name is Liam.
Yeah, right.
Liam Cohen.
Gotcha. Yeah, I'm going to go Eagles there because of those 2 guys. The coordinator and the quarterback I'll give to the Eagles, and then head coach I'll give to the Bucs.
Baker Mayfield has really turned his career around down there.
Yeah, he has.
This is going to be it.
I always thought Baker was going to be all right, to be honest. I really did. I never thought he was a bad quarterback. And I thought –
But I never thought the number 1 pick.
No, I didn't either. But that was a weird draft, wasn't it? That was the Josh Rosen draft, and the Josh Allen went in that draft, didn't he?
I know.
That was a weird draft. There was a weird pre-draft process that led to Baker Mayfield being the number 1 pick. But I never thought he was bad. And to be honest, I think he's too harshly criticized for what he was able to do in Cleveland. Cleveland was a awful organization,
and he took them to the playoffs.
And I get it. He didn't bring them to where they wanted to, they wanted him to bring them. But I thought I thought that whole thing burnt down too quickly. And I didn't think they gave him enough credit. I mean, he brought them to the playoffs. Like you said, they were the Browns before that, dude. There was like, how many starting quarterbacks were on the hamster wheel with them? Remember before 28. They got Baker? So many. And I thought he did a good job. So
how about this one? Speaking of Cleveland, Deshaun Watson, Kevin Stefanski, and Jim Schwartz, who has the advantage in quarterback coaching the Cleveland Browns?
Who's their OC?
The Philadelphia Eagles.
Who's their offensive coordinator?
Kevin Stefanski.
No, well, he's their head coach.
He called plays. He's a play caller.
Okay. I think I'd go Cleveland here.
Yeah.
I like Stefanski better. I like Jim Schwartz. I'm a Jim Schwartz guy. I think I'll go Cleveland here. By the way, right now, would you take Jalen Hurts or Deshaun Watson? Right now. June 25th, 24.
It's kind of a little bit like the Trevor Lawrence thing. You look at the kid and you go, you saw glimpses of it a year ago, but then you do this. That's not Houston.
Yeah,
okay?
I'm picking Jalen Hurts. I'm sorry, and I was one of the people. I wasn't on air at the time, so most of the people don't know. But I was behind the scenes, one of the people that was all for the Eagles trading what they needed to trade to acquire Deshaun Watson. I've been proven to be completely wrong. I don't know what it is, but right now I'll take Jalen Hurts over Deshaun Watson all day.
I'm giving this thing one more year with him.
With Watson, that's fair.
Yeah, with
Let's see what
Watson.
he can do. If he can't do it this year, it's
No.
time to it's time to
That
sink
deal
the
would
ship.
be worse, in my opinion, than the Russell Wilson deal, because the money's guaranteed and you gave up draft picks. And look at what Houston is doing with those draft picks.
We said this on Birds 365 this morning. That was the greatest thing that ever happened to that organization. Look at what they turned that Deshaun Watson deal into. That GM down in Houston, he deserves a round of applause. That Nick Caserio, he has done a tremendous job with that. If you look through that entire roster, it's not just offense. Their defense is stacked. They got players all over the field. That guy has done a really good job, and a lot of it came from the Deshaun Watson trade. So really good job by them by turning that negative situation into a major positive.
Do you know where Nick was the last decade and a half?
Nick Sirianni?
No,
Nick
Caserio.
No,
you know where he was?
No.
New England.
Mm.
He was in the front office in New England after Scott Pioli left, and he started doing a lot of the personnel moves, free agency, and all that stuff for Belichick. And here again goes when you, like John McMullen was talking, when you're good, you get cherry picked. Well, look at what Houston's doing down there with a guy who knew what he was doing up in New England. New England might have the worst roster in the league this year. There's no doubt. I go Cleveland here. This is going to be an interesting one too, but I don't think it's really I think it's a no-brainer. The Giants, Daniel Jones, Brian Dable, and Shane Bowen is the DC. As we know, Brian Dable's the play caller. Who has the advantage, Giants or Eagles in this one?
Eagles. Definitely Eagles. I do not. It's funny because I thought I was concerned about the Giants getting good with Brian Dable after that first year when he won Coach of the Year and all those things. Doesn't look like he's managed the ship well since then. And maybe I don't know if it got to his head or what, but he's fighting with Wink Martindale last year. The whole thing looks a little bit goofy. They also signed Daniel Jones. Like, well, why did they do that? I don't care because I'm happy.
Sign was dumb.
They did a lot. And who was the receiver? Kenny Galladay they signed for like $80 million.
He's been a train wreck.
Yeah, he paid, he barely played games down there. So that's been a train wreck. Definitely advantage Eagles on them for sure.
Cincinnati, Burrow, Zach Taylor, and Lou Anarumo.
Well, Burrow is obviously the advantage there for them, and maybe
Zach's been to 2 AFC title games too.
Yeah, what do you make of him?
Curious
question. Your perspective. Yeah,
great question. I really think he did a great job last year with Jake Browning. Got Jake Browning a contract extension. Did Cincinnati? No, they didn't make the playoffs. They missed it. They missed the playoffs last year, but Jake Browning kid got a contract extension. You know what I'm saying? I mean, he got a contract extension. Dude, Burrow standing up, it's not close. It's Cincinnati over the Eagles. The head coach is a play call.
You think the Burrow gap makes up for the rest?
Everything.
Yeah. Okay, that's fair because the quarterback's
and I think they're better defensively.
Yeah,
they got better talent. That Hendrickson kid's a great edge rusher. Their linebackers are good.
I'm not ready to go that far though. I don't think the Bengals are.
Where in Philadelphia do you have an advantage anywhere on defense?
The defensive line, I think, still.
Okay.
I mean, I guess you can't say it's an advantage yet, but
you're not better than New York.
No, New York's defensive line is nasty good.
That's about the only thing New York has.
I mean, we just shit on the Giants. Let me quickly,
I know.
Let me quickly and quietly give them their flowers. That defensive line in New York is nasty, really good.
So you got Birds and Dexter Lawrence, and you got Thibodeau.
Yeah. You think has Thibodeau been good for you, or has he been a little bit of a letdown? I think he's teetering the line. I think he still has some stuff to prove, though.
How about I'll say this to you. I think he's been more productive in his time so far since he got from Oregon to the Giants. I think he's better than Chase Young was in Washington.
Yeah, Chase Young was. Talk about a letdown. He was a major letdown. And then he went to where is he this year, by the way? The Saints. That's right. They signed
him. The Saints signed him.
That's right. Because he was in San Francisco he got traded there. Yeah.
I thought he had a great playoff too. I thought he played great in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And, he was the defensive rookie of the year.
Yeah, but you're talking about a guy he was supposed to be a game wrecker.
Yeah.
He was supposed to be a Myles Garrett. He was supposed to be next level.
He was better than Michael Parsons was.
No, he wasn't.
No. His rookie year, he was better than anything I've seen with Parsons. Dude, he had like 10 sacks his rookie year. He was killing teams, and then he hurt his knee. Dude, I'm telling you, you couldn't run at him either. He's a better run defender. Michael Parsons is not a good run defender.
Yeah, that's fair.
John McMullen is all over him like he's Lawrence Taylor. I'm like, come on, guy. You kidding me?
Dude, there's more Eagle fans that are on Micah than you would think. I got bashed that day in the comments. And all I said was I didn't think he was generational. I think Micah's a great player. Don't get me wrong. I think he's a great football player. I don't think he's a generational talent. When I look at him, I don't see a guy that you're going to talk about in 50, 60 years from now as like, do you remember when that guy played football?
You think he's TJ Watt?
I don't even think he's TJ Watt.
No way.
John told me I was crazy for that. And I'm like,
he's not TJ Watt.
Am I crazy?
You think he's Khalil Mack? Khalil Mack had 17 sacks last year.
Shit.
I mean, Von Miller? Von Miller was a Super Bowl MVP.
Von Miller, he was amazing when he was a Super Bowl MVP. That was awesome when they won the Super Bowl, and I think he got the MVP. Yeah, he got the MVP. That was tremendous. But he's not that guy anymore. But he still was an amazing player.
No, but he's going to Pro Football Hall of Fame.
Yeah, I mean, I like Micah, but I'm not. Like I said, I think he's a great player. I don't think he's a generational player. That's all.
Okay, here's one. I can't wait to hear this one out of Xander. Jacksonville, Trevor Lawrence, Doug Peterson, Ryan Nielsen, the hiring coach of the offseason, and Press Taylor still on that staff with
Press
the
Taylor
Jag.
thinks out loud. Doug Peterson needs to move on him from. But Dan, this is what I'll do. What am I holding up? I'll use my coffee cup.
What? I don't know. What are you doing?
I'm holding up the trophy, man.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
I'm taking Doug Peterson. I'll take Doug Peterson all day. I love Doug Peterson. I'm gonna go Doug on that one, man. I'm biased. I'm all right with that. I'm biased to Doug Peterson. He was my favorite Eagles coach. I love Doug Peterson. I also met him. Great dude in person. Really nice guy. Football guy, man. He is a football guy. He's didn't want to cater to the Eagles organization, and they moved on from him, but I'm never going to hold that against him because that's the kind of guy I am. I would never be able to have somebody tell me everything I needed to do to live my life, to be the coach of my team, especially after I raised the trophy for the first time ever in your franchise's history. Doug has balls. Charlie Swift says it there, and I'm going to take Doug Peterson in that one. And it really doesn't have anything to do with the quarterback. It just has to do with Doug.
If you were going to start your team right now with Trevor Lawrence or Jalen Hurts, who'd you start your team with?
I'll take Jalen. I think he's proven to be a better winner in the NFL. I think he's proven
with all talent around him equal.
Oh, that's a different question. I mean, that's a coulda, woulda, shoulda.
Build your team around him doesn't mean plop him in. How do you think Trevor Lawrence would do with this offensive talent in Philly?
I think he would do good. But
okay.
I'm going to stick with.
Interesting question. So if you have a ready-made team, Jalen's your guy. But if you don't have a
no. Here's what I'm going off of though. So you just for the context, I watched Jalen Hurts play like an MVP. I watched him lead our team to the Super Bowl. I watched him have one of the best passer ratings ever in Super Bowl history. I watched him be an exceptional quarterback when the lights were the brightest. I can't erase that from my memory. Do I have concerns about some Jalen Hurts? Yes. But I think Trevor Lawrence has had more than enough chances to elevate and to be a better quarterback, and I haven't seen it from him. And I think he needs that. I'm not saying I don't think he's going to be a great quarterback one day. I'm just saying right now, off what I've seen, I would take Jalen Hurts. I would feel more comfortable if I did a good job at building the team that Jalen Hurts would take me to the promised land over Trevor Lawrence.
Well, let me ask you this. If Nick Foles' one-time great performance in a Super Bowl was a one-of, how do you know that wasn't a one-of with Hurts too? Have you seen a performance since that Super Bowl where you thought he was exceptional?
No, but I thought he wasn't as bad last year as we're making it seem. I thought he turned the ball over far too much, and that exacerbates every problem in the NFL. You
I had a
can't
problem with his attitude.
I did too. But that's another story, right? Like that's
Yeah,
another
yep.
another conversation, and we can get into that. I mean, I'll talk about that right now because
Well, I'll tell you what Josh said about him on WIP in a minute.
Well, so I brought this up, and John kind of ripped into me for it because I'm like, I didn't like his attitude last year. I didn't like it in the playoff game when they lost. I wasn't a fan of the way it looked. You know, I'm not there. I don't know what he's saying to the team, but I can only analyze what I see on my TV. I didn't like it. John's like, yeah, but the year before he was the same way and everybody loved it because they were winning. So you want the guy to change or, you know, and you're going to choose when to love it and when to hate it based on the team's success? And my response is, well, I don't think every situation calls for you to be the same guy, right? Like I think when you're the quarterback of an NFL team, when you're the leader of a franchise, you have to be a different guy in different moments. I'm not asking you to change your character, to change who you are at your core, but I think you got to act different, right? Like if you're sinking and you're 1-7, you might need to light a different kind of fire than you lit when you were on a run to the Super Bowl. It might take a different version of you. And I think all of us know that. We all have a different version of ourselves. Big Sills, after Howie Roseman or the Eagles do something stupid, it's a different show than when the Eagles win the NFC title game and go to the Super Bowl. It's a different show. It takes a different Dan. You're still Dan Sileo, but it's a different version of you. And I think yeah, right. I think it required a different version of Hurts, and I don't think he was willing to go there. And I didn't like that element of it. But I do get the other side where it's like, that's who he is, win or lose. And it worked when it worked and everybody loved it. And then when it doesn't work, you knock him for it. So I get that. I get that conversation, but we'll see. Okay.
I'm going to stop here for a second because I'm going to add this into what you just said about leadership. Jaws went on WIP today. You know what he said? Someone asked him a question. Hey, what did you make of Jalen Hurts' comment about Nick Sirianni and how his response was? And Jaws, I'm going to paraphrase it, goes, I was very disappointed in his leadership skills. I was very disappointed in the fact that somebody teed something up for him and something of stuff that I said that he should have said. Hey, man, this is great. Everyone's on the same page. We're doing all this together. Instead, he took the moment to bash the guy in a way. And he said that one thing that he has to work on incredibly to a point where it's got to be something that's he thinks about more than just thinking about playing ball. I happen to think that he's got a Caitlin Clark attitude. And what I mean by that is this. I just want to play ball. I don't care about any of that other stuff. And I think that's who he is, Xander. That's not a bad thing. But when you're paid $50 million and you're the face and somebody says something so fucking dumb, dude, it's a dumb burger thing, nothing, right?
Yeah.
But there you have Jaws going on WIP going and categorizing him as not a very good leader.
Yeah, I think Jaws is right. But here's the thing, because and we obviously kicked this around a lot last week when we kind of were talking about this. And, you know, I am starting to think maybe that was a shot at the organizational structure and the philosophy from the quarterback. But on the other hand, I agree, right? Like, you're the quarterback, you're paid $55 million. Sometimes, even if you're not happy, you need to at least show the world that there's no problem there. And that's being a leader. And, you know, that might require hard conversations behind the scenes. But so I get it from that perspective, but I do wonder, like, is Jalen lashing out? And not lashing out, but you know what I mean? Kind of slapping back, like, hey, man, this is dumb what you guys are doing. This is stupid. And I kind of got that vibe a little bit from.
And I think the Eagles got offended by it by snapping back at him going, no, the offense isn't brand new.
Ray Lester brings up a good point here. And this is kind of what you said about Caitlin Clark, right? Hurts fronting for the media and the fans isn't going to help them winning any more games. He keeps it 100. Ray, I agree, especially about the press conference comment. But if you go back to that season last year and you watch, I'm not talking about his comments. I'm not talking about what he said to John McMullen in the press room.
His attitude.
I'm talking about on the field. I'm talking about when They have 9 points on the board at halftime, and you're sitting there at the end of the third quarter, and you're sitting on the sideline like this. I didn't like that. That's what I'm talking about. Now, like I said, I wasn't out there. Maybe that isn't a problem, but I can only analyze it from my point of view, and I thought that didn't look great. And then when you add that to some of the conversation that's going on this offseason, I think it's fair for people to question what's going on there with leadership. Here's Brian. This is a perfect comment right there. It's called keeping things in house. Exactly, Brian. Like there's a way to do this, and when you're the quarterback and you're paid like you are, you got to at least understand that. And maybe Jalen showed in that moment that he didn't fully understand that, or if he did, he decided to go against that.
See, this is why I think they're more comfortable with Nick than Jalen right now.
Well, you said it earlier in the show. They're grooming Nick to be the perfect coach for them. Something Doug could have never have been.
No, that's why guys like Belichick and those guys, you're not going to hire Mike Vrabel and drop Mike Vrabel in there when Vrabel's going to turn around and look Howie and go like this. Hey, you can kiss my ass. Get out of here. That's not anything. Dude, he had such an opportunity to, and I hate the word lying, because all he had to do was just kind of like keep it amongst us. Hey, man, maybe I do have a problem. Maybe I vented my problems. Maybe I'm doing this. I'll tell you what I've noticed, and you can see it too. Just Google it. There are a ton of stories coming out. All of a sudden, Jalen Hurts is grabbing the reins of the offense. I mean, everything is now, they're making it so that, hey, Jalen is now that's not who he is, dude. He's never going to be that guy. So were you shocked Josh said that he needs to be a better leader?
Nah, Jaws is an old school guy, man. Jaws was, he came from a different era. Doesn't surprise me at all that he said that. I'm not going to criticize Jaws. I mean, actually, Jaws is a very good friend of me and my entire family, actually. So my whole family knows Jaws. We've golfed at a couple of his courses. He's a good guy, and that's not why I would criticize him if I felt
worked for him.
Yeah, exactly. We had they had a great relationship. I'm not mad at it. I mean, I get it. It's tough for me to disagree with it when I understand it. I understand where he's coming from when he says that.
Let me get back to this. Cowboys. Dak Prescott, Mike McCarthy, Mike Zimmer. Who has the coaching advantage and quarterback advantage in Dallas? Eagles or the Cowboys?
You got Dak. You got McCarthy. Who's the third one you said?
Mike Zimmer, Super Bowl coach.
Yeah. I don't know about Mike Zimmer, brother.
He's a good coach.
He's a good coach, but the coaching in the NFL is not only about coaching.
Well, he has one thing Vic doesn't have, and that's a Super Bowl ring.
That's true. That's a good point. But he makes everybody hate him. That guy, Mike Zimmer.
He does.
He really does. He's a stiff. He is a stiff dude, man. Yeah.
You're not good. Hey, you know what? Hey, John Tortorella wears your ass out. Mike Zimmer, he is, he and Vic are a lot alike. As a matter of fact.
Yeah, they are. They're old school guys. They're old school defensive guys.
If you're not prepared to hear, if you ask one of those two coaches a question that you're not prepared to hear the answer that you may not like, you better be careful, because you may hear something you may not want to hear.
Agreed. Yeah, I mean, people are saying he's a great defensive mind. DFW, thanks for being there, brother. Yeah, no, he definitely is. He's definitely a good coach. I just worry about especially in Boston, or not Boston, especially in Dallas, there's a lot more there than just football. You and I both know that. Our buddy Mark Holmes knows that. DFW knows that. Who's the dude who's been crapping on me in here? The Dallas guy.
Vulture Cowboy.
One of these dudes in here. Well, I don't know his name.
He wasn't the Super Bowl DC. He was a defensive back coach. Okay. Thank you, Prince. Make sure we're keeping it. There you go, Prince. Thank you, buddy. Go ahead, Xander. Jesus Christ, this guy
Prince,
wears
love you, brother. Prince, appreciate the super chat, my man. Thank you, bro.
He's such a dick. I love him, though.
Prince, you're the man, brother. You're the man, Prince.
Oh, man.
No, I think I'll give the coaching advantage to the Eagles, because I'm not sold on Mike McCarthy. I think he won a Super Bowl, so I'll give him that. But Nick Sirianni was right on the brink of it, and I like Jalen in this year, because
no way do the Eagles have a better staff and quarterback than the Cowboys. Now, look, people are going to go like this. Seals, who do you think has a better team? The Eagles. But that doesn't mean that you have a better coaching. Hey, you guys have been freaking telling me coaching
Yeah, you
matters.
asked me to pick the Cowboys. I'm an Eagles fan. You want me to pick the Cowboys? Fuck that.
He's 9-4 versus you.
Fuck McCarthy. Fuck Dak Prescott. Fuck them all. I don't care. I'm not picking the Cowboys.
Okay, fair enough, man.
Jesus, criminy.
Fair enough. Okay, here's this one. This is going to be kind of interesting. I'm looking forward to this one. Jaden Daniels, Dan Quinn, he's a DC head coach, and Kingsbury.
That's a good staff, actually. That's a good staff down there.
And the quarterback coach is Brian Johnson.
What do you think about Dan Quinn as a head coach?
Not the best.
Not
As a
the
coordinator,
best.
I think he's risky.
I think he's a good coordinator. I think he makes good risk. I like him as a coordinator.
Look at what he did with Micah Parsons.
I do not like him as a head coach. I do not like him as a head coach. But I'll tell you what, I think I like Cliff Kingsbury with that guy, Jaden Daniels. Where's James Jones? Is James in the chat? Yeah, James Jones is in the chat. Our resident Commander fan. I like that quarterback, man. I think Jaden Daniels is a winner in this league. I think he's going to be a good player. And I think Cliff Kingsbury has a good chance to get it out of him. But I'm not going to go there yet. I got to see it with them, and I'm going to go Eagles here. Yeah.
I'll say this to you. Second year in a row, you could have hired an RPO coordinator to fit Jalen Hurts' skill set, and you didn't. Why? You could have hired Kingsbury, who's an RPO guy. He had Kyler Murray. He coached Patrick Mahomes. They had that offense at Texas Tech. I mean, why did he
wanted to move on from Jeff Stoutland?
That's not happening then.
Well, that's
a deal. That's a deal breaker for me too.
Me too. And so that's the answer to your question. Though there was only so many dudes out there when the Eagles were looking, and I thought I like Kellen Moore, man. Look, I get it. I get the knocks against them, but this is also one of the best teams he's ever going to be coaching. All he has to do is what we talked about earlier. Create a little bit of balance on the offense, help Jalen Hurts at the line of scrimmage, help him become a better quarterback, and this offense is going to flourish. So I don't, just because Kellen Moore never called an RPO offense, like, what does that mean? Okay? He never had an RPO quarterback.
Okay. So why wouldn't you hire a guy who that's his job? Like Shane Steichen. Guess what Shane Steichen did? Shane Steichen didn't go back.
Never had an RPO quarterback before Jalen Hurts. Never.
Well, then why did he draft one?
Because he had Jalen Hurts and it worked.
Okay. Nick Sirianni was the play caller for Phillip Rivers.
Yeah, and look at him.
That's why he failed at 2-5.
Go and look at what Nick Sirianni's offense looked like with Phillip Rivers. Go and look at it.
They won 11 games.
It looked good. There was all sorts of hot routes and all sorts of reasons. What
makes you think this guy's going to change his spots on his coat and turn into some sort of dude? Kyle Shanahan couldn't do it. These coordinators today don't change who they are; they change in personnel.
So you think Kellen Moore is going to come up to this team, look at this talent, look at everything that worked for this team in the last 2 years when they won 20-something ball games and went 27-2 in a certain stretch of games, and you think he's going to expunge that all and put Jalen Hurts in a play action under center offense? Is that what you think is going to happen, Sills?
I think they're going to do exactly what they did a year ago in the philosophy of what they want. They want explosion plays.
Man, he's not going to take Jalen Hurts.
They don't want the 22 runner.
No, they want a better version of both years. That's fine. He's not going to put. My point is, he's not going to come in.
That you're looking at something he's never done.
Yeah, but you're speculating on what he's going to do when he's here. He's never had a quarterback.
Because I'm looking around the league.
If Kellen Moore happened,
dude, every coordinator doesn't change. They change the quarterback. Look at Sean Payton's another great example. He gets up to Denver and he sees that guy Russell Wilson and he goes, I can't win with that. I need a new guy. They went off of a $279 million contract to get that guy out of the fucking building because he didn't want to coach that style of quarterback. They didn't want to make it work in Denver because he didn't want to make it work. Why didn't he change his way? Because he didn't want to.
So you think the Eagles organization is going to bow out on the guy that they paid because Kellen Moore isn't going to run an RPO?
I think they.
By the way, let me add in this. Kellen Moore is coming off 2 straight years of being fired. 2 straight years. If he comes in here and does what he wants and it doesn't work and he gets fired, you know what's going to happen to Kellen Moore's NFL career? It's going down the tubes, brother.
Yeah, him and Matt Patricia can go coach some high school somewhere.
He can go be a quarterback's coach somewhere. He's getting demoted. He's got an offense that's $175 million. If you think he's going to come in and think that it's his way or the highway over all these great players he has, well, shame on him. And I don't think that's going to happen.
If they throw the ball 37 times a game, that guy will have 20 picks this year.
Dan, let's see. Let's see.
Okay. Let's go. Let's go here. Rams, Stafford, McVay, Chris Shula. By the way, the last 3 coordinators that Sean McVay has hired have taken his Rams to the Super Bowl. Wade Phillips, Raheem Morris, and now this is a brand new hire. And yes, this is, I believe, David Shula's son. Don Shula's the grandfather. Matthew Stafford and McVay have won a Super Bowl together. Who has the advantage here?
The Rams. The Rams are a great coaching staff. Sean McVay is one of the best offensive coaches in the NFL. He is basically the pinnacle right now of what teams are looking for. Him, and I guess you could maybe throw Kyle Shanahan in there in terms of the play design and the offensive mind. So I'm going to go advantage Rams here. I think because of Sean McVay, that team has a chance to really be a contender this year. Maybe not a Super Bowl contender, but I think they're a sleeper. I think they're a wild card team. I think they're a sleeper in that division, and I think they're going to be a solid team.
I think it's got a lot to do with their defensive side of the football. If they can overcome the loss of Donald, and that's going to be a really big-time feel, especially also, too, let's not forget they also lost Jalen Ramsey back there in their secondary, too. So, I mean, I know it's 2 years removed. What?
I want to go to this comment real quick, if you don't mind.
Good.
And back to what we just talked about with Kellen Moore. Dan Xander. I like that. Xander. I'm good with that. Shane Steichen changed the way he calls the offense for Jay Hurts, right?
No, he didn't.
Yeah, he did. Yes,
no, he didn't.
Did.
RPO is not a play call. It's a decision-making by the quarterback.
Yeah, but the offensive
quarterback, when he snaps the ball, it's a play for his decision-making on to keep it, throw it, or run it. It's his call in a split second. It's predetermined pre-snap. That's why he excelled so much. Because as a decision maker, dude, Jalen Hurts running that decision-making offense was methodical. He was a $50 million guy. There's his decision-making in that RPO, when he did that, and my God, those 3rd and 11s, when he would break that back at it, I was like, man, you can't defend that shit. Now, when you don't have that dynamic, now you have predetermined explosion plays. You're throwing to the numbers. They became predictable, like Bosa said, and they were not the same mentality offensive approach that they were in 22. 22, the offense was more in Jalen's hands. 23, the offense was more in the coordinator's hands. Would you not agree?
Yeah, and which one worked better?
Okay. Why did you get away from it then?
Well, why are you so convinced that Kellen Moore has no interest in going back to that?
Because that's not who he is.
That's not who he's been, because the opportunity has never been there for him to be
so
that guy.
He's got to reinvent himself like you guys said today. I don't want to change Hurts. Kellen Moore has to change completely. Why didn't you hire somebody?
He doesn't have to change completely. He has to apply different principles in offense. Okay. He's a good offensive mind.
That's been fired 2 years in a row.
He's also responsible for the #1 ranked offense in Dallas.
Let's go on to Baltimore here. Lamar Jackson, Todd Monken, John Harbaugh and Zach Orr. Now, I'll say this to you about Zach Orr. I don't know dick about him. However, do we agree? See, John said that there's coordinator changes. Yeah, okay, on defense, but they still got the same guys intact over there on offense.
Yeah.
So I would say this. Does Baltimore make pretty good hires?
Seems like they do. John Harbaugh really is like – John Harbaugh to me is in a way like the pinnacle of what Nick could be in terms of CEO
or
head
wants
coach.
to be.
Wants to be, right. A CEO head coach. Him, or I guess maybe you could say Mike Tomlin is a good one. But somebody like that. And Monken has done a great job there. Bob Brown, I think he's in here right now. Let me see if I can find him. Bob Brown had a really good comment this morning on – yeah, Bob's in here. Bob had a really good comment this morning on Birds 365 about they have really done the right thing there in terms of building the offense for the quarterback. They have not tried to change Lamar Jackson at all. And I do worry, and this goes back to the Kellen Moore commentary, that they're not doing that in Philadelphia. And because of that, I will give the Ravens the advantage here. I think they have a good coaching staff, good quarterback. I'm going to go with the Ravens here.
You know, you said something very interesting today about what Monken's done. I'd like Monken if Nick ever got fired, and if you're going to stay with Hurts.
Yeah.
I'd like Monken to be the head coach, calling head coach.
I like that a lot. I like that a lot.
You said something. You go, it's funny. Monken, who got out of his skin in that AFC title game for whatever reason, that great coaching staff got hammered by Andy in that AFC title game.
Yeah.
They were just exposed. However, you said this, I didn't really see a lot more passing because Jalen's a better passer than Lamar Jackson. In my opinion,
sometimes
he's okay.
Lamar's
I think as a consistent guy, week to week, I'll take Jalen over him. Okay? I will. Now, he's got better weapons on the perimeter.
Wait. Did you say you'll take Jalen over Lamar?
Passing.
Okay.
Not overall.
Okay. I'm not going to go there.
He's on the most he's ever thrown for us, 3,100 yards.
Yeah, but he's not. That doesn't tell the whole story.
As a passer.
That doesn't tell the whole story, though.
I'm not saying. I'm only telling you half the story.
Yeah, okay. All right, that's fair.
He's a better passer.
All right, I'll agree to disagree. I would probably take Lamar.
By the way, who would I take? I'll probably take Lamar. Now, I'll tell you one thing that really did bug me wrong about him. Did he lay down for his team to get that contract 2 years ago? I mean, that was not a good look for him. Hey, I'm 95%. Hey, the last two quarters, Patrick Mahomes was 85% going into that Super Bowl. And Patrick Mahomes, he went in there and played for his football team. I don't know.
I'm fully with you in terms of I want to see these guys be willing to sacrifice. But you also, especially a guy like you who played in the NFL, who sacrificed their body, who knows what it takes. I don't really have a problem with a guy who was drafted 31st overall, who made a lot of money but didn't make generational money, and who plays the style that he plays. Like, if they didn't want him to do that, they could have given him that contract earlier, Sills. I'm okay because I understand the business and the human element to the game. These are professionals. This is not college football. He was playing like an MVP, and they didn't want to pay him. If he goes out there and he blows an ACL or he tears a knee up or ruptures his Achilles, you're talking about a lot of money, man, that he sacrificed for a team that wouldn't go out on a limb and show him. So from the business perspective, from the element of that, it's tough for me to knock Lamar. Got to be honest, man. Like, I think it was on the organization. Look at what the Eagles did for Jalen Hurts. They dumped the bag at his feet, man, before they even needed to. Lamar won an MVP, and they were still hesitant. 17. So from that perspective, I don't want to beat the guy up for it too much. Now you get the bag. If you're going to sit out, now I have a problem with it. But before that, it's tough for me to criticize him. It really is.
How about this? Would you agree? Then maybe could you say the same thing about Saquon Barkley last year? You think he played 100% last year?
Yeah, but he was also the number 2 overall pick in the NFL draft.
No, I'm just saying, do you think he kind of laid down a little bit because the team didn't have belief in him? They didn't want to give him any money. You think he sandbagged it? You think he sandbagged it a little bit?
I don't think he did, though. I mean, I think he probably could have more, if at all. I mean, I don't think he did. I think it would be justifiable potentially from a business perspective to do it. But yeah, I thought they kind of toyed with him a little too much too. But at that point, he had made $12 million, even on the franchise tag. Like, we're talking about a $5 or $7 million contract that Lamar had. Remember, he was drafted 31st overall, 32nd overall, the last pick of the first round. I think his money was like $8 million or whatever it was over 4 years. You factor in taxes and all that bullshit. The guy's walking with a couple $1 million. That's great money. Don't get me wrong. I would take a couple $1 million. But you're talking about a guy that's playing MVP quarterback, which is a position that earns $50 million. That's the going rate. And they didn't want to give it to him. So I get it from that perspective. I think it's a little different scenario with Barkley.
I want, hey, Prince, if you'd like me to send this picture to you of Big Sills here playing against the Lions, you just let me know there, and I'll send that out there to you too there, man. If you'd like to have that, I'll send that out there to you, buddy. Right there, Big Sills playing against Kevin Glover. Right there you go, bro. Let me know when you want it, Prince. I'll send that baby to you there. All good. You know what? I'm not going to do Carolina because I think they have the massive advantage. Bryce Young, Dave Canales, who was the OC in Tampa. This one you and I talked about a little bit. Pittsburgh. Russell Wilson, Mike Tomlin, Arthur Smith, the former head coach of the Atlanta Falcons.
Who I think is better served as a coordinator. But
okay, who do you think has the advantage, Pittsburgh or Philly?
I think I gotta go Pittsburgh here because of Mike Tomlin. Right? I mean, how can you pick a guy like Nick who's 3 or 4 years in the league? I don't think I can pick. Now, I will say I like Jalen Hurts a lot more than I like Russell Wilson at this point in his career. So
that could close the gap.
That could close the gap, but I'm going to go advantage Pittsburgh here.
Because of the way they – okay. So, here. This is what I have. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Of the 14 games, the opposing team is going to have the advantage in quarterback and coaching staff over the Eagles. How much does that play into your evaluation? And I would say this, probably 95%, the Eagles have the better talent like they did a year ago.
Oh, there you go. That's a big tell right there.
Well, it didn't matter.
It didn't matter. That down the stretch last year, yeah, it didn't. It did matter in 22, didn't it?
Whoa, we go again. 22. What's next? 1922? Jesus criminy. Man, you hang on that year like it is like you think the Bible was written in 2022. Holy cow, man. Mod on. This is crazy. How you remember? Hey, I heard John
McCain. The Bible was written in 200 AD. What are you talking about, Big Sills?
Not the way you Philly guys talk. Jalen Hurts is hey, who he is 22. I haven't seen that guy in 21 games.
That's not true.
Oh, when did you see that guy play 4 quarters of football like he did in Arizona?
Big Sills. He did beat Mahomes. They did beat Josh Allen. They did beat Tua and the high-powered Dolphins. They beat teams last year, man.
You keep saying, but then they fired the guy who helped beat them.
Well, yeah, because they collapsed down the stretch and he couldn't figure out how to fix it.
That's Brian Johnson's fault?
No, but he was their scapegoat.
Oh, so we fired a guy just to make ourselves feel good.
No, you fired a guy because you had to fire somebody, man.
That's always a great reason. Hey, guess what?
Oh, wait.
I got to fire a guy.
Whoa. You go. Let me say. Dan Sileo is the owner of the Philadelphia Eagles. Let's play a little scenario here. You spend that type of money on your roster, on your quarterback, and you collapse down the stretch like they did last year. You running it back with the same everything? I'll answer for you. No, you're not. I'll go back to your show on June
I'm firing
25th
Nick.
of 2023. Your off-season topics last year.
I'm firing
and by the
Nick.
way, you're okay. That's fair. That's fair. I won't knock you for that. But I'm just saying, your off-season topics last year, which by the way, you're completely vindicated for at this point in time, were that why the hell did they bring in inexperienced coordinators, especially on offense? You consistently said that all last offseason. It didn't work out. They went and got a more experienced guy this year. Let's see how it plays out. They didn't fire Nick because they knew it would have looked far too bad on the front office and the organization as a whole to fire another guy that went to the Super Bowl 2 years after he got there. After what happened to Doug Peterson 3 years after he won it. Not firing Nick was not as much about Nick as it was about the organization, about the owner.
Okay,
Couldn't do it.
Again, what you've done, you feel by hiring Kellen, is it more that he's being hired for in-game play calling or designing? As a matter of fact, I do like Sean Desai.
No, he did. He liked Sean Desai, but the one thing he questioned, and especially on offense, like I said, was that he didn't like the inexperience of the coordinators.
That's right.
You can like
by the way,
Sean
Desai is now on the coaching staff in Los Angeles.
Yeah, he's on the scrap heap a little bit, though. What's he doing over there? Is like some sort of defensive assistant?
Yeah. He's second in line to the defensive coordinator. And by the way, he'll get elevated to DC once that guy gets an opportunity, because if you look at it, Wade Phillips is coaching in the UFL, was just named the UFL Coach of the Year, and now Raheem just got a head coaching job. He's next in line. Sean McVay likes him.
Yeah, it's true.
I get this. Pete Carroll spoke highly of him, and so did Vic. That was
I don't have a problem with Sean Desai, man. Our team was 10-2.
You were 10-2 when you fired him.
And after that, we fell off the Grand Canyon. So off the Empire State Building, we fell like you wouldn't believe. So
what did Sean Desai do wrong? He beat Mahomes, he beat Allen, he beat Dak, he beat Stafford. What are you talking about, guy? Yeah, you demoted a guy and then you imploded your fucking team, LJ.
You did. It's tough to argue against that.
Do you get this? That whole thing, by firing him, imploded the team. So firing of Desai was a wrong move. So once again, I like Desai's hiring. Yes, I did. I didn't think he did anything wrong.
I don't think you like the Brian Johnson hiring. I'm not wrong on that. I'll go back and
I hated it.
Yeah, you didn't like it.
Yeah, because you know what everybody kept telling me? Oh, they're boys, they're this, they're that, they're da-da-da. And I'm like this. Okay, well, you know what's really funny about Brian Johnson? Brian Johnson won 11 games. Everyone had career years. And he got fired. Why? And what's going to be so different this year? I'll say one thing, then I'll give this, and I'll concede to you and John on this. The only difference that I say that Kellen Moore brings than what Brian Johnson is going to bring, because Brian Johnson was a first-year play caller. Well, this guy is going to be calling an offense, according to you guys, that kind of looks a little bit like 22 and 23. I don't believe that, but we'll see. You're right. I have to see it play out. The only difference that I think he brings is in-game play calling and situational play calling that Brian was not. He was not experienced at. And it showed in the Jets game was a great example of the lack of experience on third and what have you. I mean, some of the timeouts in the game too by Nick. I'll tell you something that Nick struggles from. His 2-minute drills going into halftime and his 2-minute drills going into the end of the game. He's not very good. A little Andy Reid in him a little bit at the beginning. Now, that's common with new coaches, though.
Yeah.
Guys waving their pom-poms this morning, boy, I'll tell you. Hey, I think this guy's going to come in here and he's going to be the next North Turner. I'm like, holy shit.
I'm not waving shit, man. What are you talking about?
All right, Xander, what's it? Kellen Moore can scheme guys open. That's the difference. He can scheme guys open. Well, dude, correct me if I'm wrong, but the guy who was your coordinator last year had career years for your wideouts last year. Did he not scheme them open too? You had one guy get 1,600 yards and the other guy 1,200. Did he not scheme them open?
It's true.
Yes, sir. One guy had 100 some odd catches. I guess he didn't scheme him open either. Holy cow.
I think Kellen's going to be good. I really do.
Kellen's. All right, dude. I appreciate. Hey, brother, where are we in the life?
Wait a second. Let's address this. JM, my man JM. What's up, JM? Guys are open. Hurts can't find them. I think that's a little bit of a problem that everybody's afraid to address right now, is that I'm not saying that Brian Johnson was that great. I'm not saying that it's all on Jalen Hurts, but I will say eventually we are going to have to force and expect our players
pre-game snap stuff.
Not even just Hurts. We got to expect our players to step up. Eventually that conversation needs to be had. I know many don't want to have it, and many want to just blame the coaches and blame the play calling and blame all that stuff. Eventually we got to have this conversation where, look, you could argue Jalen Hurts was the reason that Brian Johnson got fired. I'm not saying that's true. I'm just saying one could make the argument. A guy like Dan Sileo could make the argument. Breaking news, Wednesday's show. Jalen Hurts got Brian Johnson fired.
He did. Well, if Josh Allen got Ken Dorsey fired, Jalen got him fired. You can't have it both ways. Okay?
I'm just saying, Jalen missed a lot of guys that made them look a lot worse.
Real quick. Xander said something interesting before the show started, and I want to just do it just a little bit, not a lot of it. If you had to pick quarterback to start your team, Josh Allen or Jalen Hurts?
Josh Allen or Jalen Hurts?
Yeah.
Josh Allen.
Tagovailoa or Jalen?
I'm going to go Jalen on that one.
Aaron Rodgers?
Saban wouldn't agree, but I'll go Jalen.
Aaron Rodgers or Jalen Hurts?
For one season or for a career?
You're dissecting my question?
No, I'm just saying. I'm getting 40-year-old Aaron Rodgers. If I need him for one season, I'm taking Aaron Rodgers. But if I need him for 10 years, I'm going to take Jalen Hurts, obviously.
I'm probably doing Hurts, too.
I'll take Rodgers, though, for the year. I mean, shit.
Lamar Jackson or Jalen Hurts?
Lamar Jackson.
And I'm going to ask a question after this.
Okay, I see where you're going.
Deshaun Watson
or I'll take Jalen Hurts over Deshaun Watson.
Russell Wilson or Jalen Hurts?
Jalen Hurts.
Joe Burrow or Jalen Hurts?
Joe Burrow.
CJ Stroud or Jalen Hurts?
CJ Stroud. I think he is the next superstar. He is the guy, and I know everybody's already high on him. He's going to be better than we're all thinking after that season. He is going to be the next Joe Burrow, Josh Allen conversation guy. He is going to be that good. That's my projection on CJ Stroud. I'll take CJ.
Trevor Lawrence, Jalen.
I'm going to go Jalen. I'm going to keep Jalen.
You think that's close?
I think it's very close. I think it's very close. You could argue Trevor Lawrence would be amazing in this offense.
He would be.
Yeah, he would be. So,
dude, Tyrod Taylor would be awesome in this offense. This is going to be an interesting one. Anthony Richardson. Anthony Richardson.
Jalen Hurts, man. What the hell has Anthony Richardson done?
I'm just saying.
Good, but like, come on, I'm not taking.
Gardner Minshew make the Pro Bowl too? You know, they're in Indianapolis last year.
Yeah,
he's a Pro Bowler.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, but Jalen Hurts was an All-Pro in 22.
I won't do Mahomes. I won't do Mahomes. I won't do Bo. I'll put this one: Justin Herbert or Jalen Hurts.
Justin Herbert. Wait a second. Did you see that? The Vogue thing? Oh my goodness. Joe Burrow after the Vogue.
No.
He had his giddy. He had his back blown out on that suit, man. I'm like, hey Joe, I know you might have gotten paid, but that's one I maybe would have elected to not do, my friend.
What happened?
Nah, he walked on like a fashion show or whatever it was with Vogue, and he's wearing this goofy suit, and it's got no back to it. His whole back is out. I'm like,
I might have to take Jalen Hurts. I might have to take Jalen Hurts over Joe Burrow.
Yeah, come on.
You have to have a pair of balls.
Yeah, come on, Joey B. I didn't like that either.
Yeah, you might have to have a pair of balls here. All right, Dak Prescott, Jalen Hurts.
Shit, I gotta go Dak, I think.
Yo!
No, did I do it? Did I do it?
All right, hold on. Jared Goff or Jalen Hurts?
That's a tough one. I might have to. Oh,
I hate that I would say Goff. I do, but I look
know.
at the guy's resume. Hoss, he's been to two conference title games with two different teams, and he's turned the freaking Lions around, something Stafford couldn't do. That's insane.
I think I gotta go Goff, brother.
Me too. Dude, I thought he was a cup of ice chewer on the sidelines. I can't believe what he's done with his. Get this. He's actually, you could probably take Goff over Dak.
Yeah, you could. I would take Goff over Dak. The problem with Dak is the big game stuff, right? But I think as a football player, I think he's a very good quarterback. Probably better than most fans are willing to give him credit for.
Okay. Jordan Love or Jalen Hurts?
Shit, man. I'll go Jalen Hurts. I'll go Jalen Hurts on that.
Ah, you're a liar.
No, I'm not a liar. I'm not a liar. I think Jordan Love's going to be good. I like what he's going to be, but come on, Jalen Hurts is still good. I mean, it's not like
no.
So I'm going to take Jalen there. I'm going to take Jalen.
We're going to find out how good.
Right. We're going to find out how good he is in Sao Paulo.
Okay, how good he is. Okay, I'm not going to do that shit there. How about Caleb Williams?
Wait, what were you not going to do?
Well, I'm not going to go JJ McCarthy because I think he's JJ Tebow.
Yeah, we're not going there. Okay, Jalen.
No.
Who'd you have next?
Caleb Williams.
Jalen.
Okay. Baker Mayfield.
Jalen.
Derek Carr.
Jalen.
Kirk Cousins.
Jalen. Like Kirk, but I'm going Jalen.
Brock Purdy.
Jalen.
Based on what?
Based on that, I think Jalen Hurts is the better football player. I think Jalen Hurts is the better quarterback.
He hasn't done more.
No. You could say that about a lot of players.
All right.
Wait a second. Josh Allen or Brock Purdy?
Josh Allen.
Okay, he hasn't done more.
He's a better talent.
Okay, that's how I feel about Jalen Hurts.
Okay.
Thanks for proving my point.
Hey, don't play my game on me, motherfucker.
Yeah, well, yeah. Well, taste your own medicine, man.
Don't play my game on me, guy.
Yeah.
Hold on. Matthew Stafford, Jalen Hurts.
Jalen Hurts at this point.
Geno Smith or Jalen Hurts.
Jalen Hurts.
Kyler Murray.
Jalen Hurts. I am not a Kyler Murray guy. Nothing about Kyler Murray strikes me as me wanting to go and take him to quarterback my football team. I'm sorry, but nothing. Not a Kyler Murray guy.
Hold on. No, here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11.
Is that how many I picked over Jalen?
Yeah, you got Jalen ranked the 12th best quarterback in the league.
That's all right. I'm okay with that. That's about what I thought, to be honest. I thought we did this ranking a little bit ago. I think we did it on Birds, and I thought honestly my ranking was a little too high for him. I think I had him like 9 or 8. I think he's about 10 to 12. But we have one of the best rosters in the NFL, and he's proven that when the big game comes, he can elevate. So that's what I'm banking on. I think we can win a Super Bowl with Jalen Hurts. I'm confident saying that. I feel good about having him. I'm a little concerned that they're not going to play to his strengths. But overall, I think that's right about where we're at with him. Let's go.
Can we make a comment like this about Hurts? He's probably a top 12 quarterback, but can play himself into the top 5.
Yeah, that's a great comment. When he's hot.
Can two things be true?
Absolutely, 2 things can be true. You know, that's a good – I think he's 12 based on, let's just say, talent.
Like Lamar can play. Like Lamar can play himself out of the top 3.
Yeah, but Lamar, from a raw talent perspective, is as good as you're going to get. I mean, he is right there. I would say I think it's. I would have 3 tiers right for this top 12. Mahomes is his own tier. He's his own tier. Then I would have Allen, Burrow, and Lamar in tier 2, and then I would put the next 8 in tier 3.
Here's what Pro Football Focus has the top 5 quarterbacks: Mahomes, Lamar Jackson 2. This is going into this year into camp. Burrow 3, Allen 4, Herbert 5. I think they had Hurts at 8 or 9, if I'm not mistaken. And my top 5 quarterbacks are Mahomes, Allen, Burrow, Lamar, and Herbert. So just a little bit different, but the same 5 guys.
I think you're a little too high on Herbert. I get it. I get the talents there.
Dude, he had Brandon Staley. If coaching matters, this guy went for it on 4th down on their own 20 with a minute left in the game, and the only reason
with the way you talk about Nick Sirianni, can't you say the same thing about Jalen Hurts? He's got Nick Sirianni.
Yeah.
Wait, hit the super. I take Jalen over 90% of the guys because I would hire Steichen as my head coach. It's a good take, but he's in Indy now, man. That ship has sailed.
Daniel, you put even a guy like Kingsbury, dude, I can't believe he was such a dick on the whole Stoutland thing, because I think he'd have been a perfect hire. Dude, I heard they had a 3-year contract on the table for him, Cliff Kingsbury. And when he wanted to get rid of Stoutland and bring his own guys in, that's when the whole thing went south, and they said, no, that ain't happening. And that's a deal breaker too. It's a total deal breaker for me. All right, Xander, where are we in the like list, brother?
Let me see if I can get it real quick. Give me a second, bro.
Hey, by the way, we apologize. We're still trying to run down Gary Cobb. Gary must be still at this event. We'll work on him coming aboard here. That's I never thought about that with Jalen. Hey, Jalen.
120 on the like list.
120, guys. We're 80 away. I would say this to you, Xander. Jalen's in the top 12 talent-wise, but he could play himself like he did in the 22 into the top 3. Look at Lamar. Lamar's a top 12. Hey, is Lamar a top 12 talent, or is he a top 5 talent that can play himself into the top spot? But see, hey, how about this? If Lamar Jackson wins a Super Bowl, is he the best quarterback in the league?
No. Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback in the league, and it's not particularly close.
So if he wins multiple and he has 2 MVPs, does he close that? Can he close that gap?
I don't see it.
You want to hear this, Xander? Finally, here. Let me throw this. I think the gap between Mahomes and the second guy is wider than it was between Brady and Manning.
Which is an insane comment, but it's true. That's exactly how I feel. I think Patrick Mahomes, like when Brady's career was ending, a lot of people are like, and I get it, are like, man, when are we going to see this again? Like, when are we going to see this level of quarterback play? We're seeing it already. It didn't even take a year gap. Mahomes was already in the league. He's that good. Mahomes has a chance to be the best quarterback to ever play the game. A good chance. Depending on how long Andy stays, Mahomes has a great chance.
Mike Golick just he must have CTE because I did ask him. Sorry, man, I had my charity golf tournament this past weekend, was very busy. Hey, maybe we might be getting Mike Golick on tomorrow.
That'd be great. Mike's great.
So we're at 120. All right, guys, let's see if we can get it up. Xander. By the way, you guys, no disrespect to anybody, like Harry and them guys, but I'll tell you what, you give me a lot of really good topics because, hey, everyone goes like this. Seals, we're better than it. Wasn't looking at wins. I'm looking at, do you have the advantage of going into these games? If coaching matters a ton last year for the Eagles, it's got to matter now. Okay, it's got to matter too going into these games. Great stuff as always, Xander. Thank you so much, brother. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Big Seals. Appreciate it. Thank you, everybody in the chat. You guys are the best. I appreciate you guys more than you will know. So thanks. Thank you. And thank you, Big Seals. Appreciate it, brother.
You got it. Hit the like button. Keep it here, National Football Show.
If you missed any of today's show on the JAKIB Media channel, listen to the podcast on your way home. Available on YouTube, Apple, and Spotify.
heading down the shore. Have a ball once more.
Here, imaginations run wild and time stands still. Because here, you can find the best of the Jersey Shore, all on one 5-mile island. So leave the old you behind and get lost in the woods.
Wild, wild, wildwood day.
Plan your stay in the Wildwoods today.
They're carving them up and good play calling along the way. First and goal at the 6.
On the field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you.
Champions on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
Win and save this baseball season from Colony Pools and Power Washing, a local company serving Delaware, Delco, and Chester County since 1970. Are you tired of looking at your green house? Is your roof, siding, deck stained green from algae and mold? Let the experts pressure wash your home and take the pressure off of you. Win with Colony Pools and Power Washing. Call them now at 302-762-2250. That's 302-762-2250.
The greatest fans on earth. It's a bold statement, but would you expect anything less from Philadelphia? 58 years of heartache creates a toughness, a grit, a resolve not found in most. Sure, our prayers were answered, but now that we've had a taste, we're looking for more. Pondley Hockey, official partner of the Philadelphia Eagles.
EAGLES, Eagles.
Dan Sil's National Football Show. Please hit the like button. We are rolling towards our 200 likes. Please hit the like button. We're going to comment more on what Jaw said at the top of the hour about the lack of leadership that Jalen Hurts has. We'll hit on that here in a second. I want to make a comment about Jason Kelce versus Tom Brady. I think that Jason Kelce is going to be a better broadcaster than Tom Brady. I'm going to want to listen more to Kelce. You know why? I've heard Brady getting involved in, he's too methodical. He's not interesting. Brady kind of talks like he plays. He's boring. Do me a favor here when it comes to Tom Brady. Do you remember a signature play in his career? Throw, Philly. His career's kind of been like a place kicker's. Hold on, RTF. Do you have a play? Most of those plays in the Super Bowl ended in Vinatieri field goals, did they not? I mean, wasn't like Montana hitting John Taylor in the back of the end zone for a touchdown to win a Super Bowl. You know, I mean, yeah, Prince goes, I remember 7 rings. I'm not saying accountability. Hey, Joe Montana was sorry as a TV commentator. He won 4, and he's 4-0, and he has 3 Super Bowl MVPs. And he was boring. When I listen to Tom Brady talk, I don't know. I get it, man. I'm a Tom Brady fan too. I'm a total Tom Brady fan. But when I hear Jason Kelce talk, he reminds me of John Madden. Kelce just reminds me of John Madden. Yells right on. Hey, Yale, I'd rather listen to Tom Brady than Tony Romo. What is Tony? Jalen Hurts has as many playoff wins and has gone further than Tony Romo. What does Tony Romo know about winning? Nothing. I mean, Tony Romo talks like he's Troy Aikman. He's not. I never got the Romo. But what does Romo do? Romo's pretty entertaining. He's kind of good to listen to. Not my favorite guy, but right? There's an entertainment factor. Would we not agree? He's a little more entertaining than Troy. And Yale. Troy is a lot like Brady. Very informative. But Romo is kind of more entertaining. Oh, I think RTF. I think the Cowboys and Jerry Jones. You know why? I don't really think that Jerry Jones. You got to remember something about Troy Aikman. What's the one thing that Jerry Jones will always... Aikman's good. He is. But what's the one thing you always have to remember about Aikman during the Jerry Jones era? What's the number one thing you have to remember on why Troy Aikman is not looked at like Dak Prescott or Tony Romo are by Jerry Jones? Hey, Cowboy fans, why don't you tell folks what's the difference? Why doesn't Jerry... Troy's very critical of Jerry, too. He's very critical and hated the fact that he fired Jimmy Johnson. But what's the one thing that separates that people to this day, that history has been rewritten over when it comes to how people look at Troy Aikman? Troy got knocked the F out in the beginning. He sure did. Didn't know that. Yale, always remember this. Jerry Jones was not the guy who earmarked Troy Aikman. Troy Aikman was already predetermined when Jerry bought the team by Tex Schramm, Gil Brandt, and Tom Landry. Don't you remember what Tom Landry said at the Cotton Bowl that year? Troy's the Cowboys' number one pick. He was the number one pick. Troy Aikman was already predetermined that he was going to be the Cowboys' pick under the Tom Landry regime. And then in February of that year, who was the only person? Yale, remember this one? Who was the only person that Jimmy and Jerry kept from the old regime of Tom Landry? Who was the only guy they kept? Do you guys know? Who was the only man they kept? And they only kept him for a couple months. There was one guy that they kept. One guy. Troy Aikman is not a Jerry Jones guy. It was Gil Brandt. Gil had done all the scouting. Gil had done all the player evaluation. And when Jimmy got in, remember, they got the job in February. A couple months later was the draft in April. Jimmy didn't have that much time. He played in January, a bowl game. February, he gets the Cowboy job towards the middle of the year or middle of the month. And he had 1 month to prepare for the draft. Remember, there was a comment, should the Cowboys take Tony Mandrich or should they take Troy Aikman? And because Jimmy couldn't get him to transfer to Miami and he couldn't get him to sign at Oklahoma State, he had turned him down twice. Jimmy only had a month. They were going with Troy Aikman. No matter what, Jerry didn't pick Aikman. It just so happens that Aikman was the right choice, and the Cowboys stuck with what they said in January, that they were going with Aikman. He was never a Jerry Jones guy. If anything, he was a Jimmy Johnson guy and a Tom Landry guy. Tom Landry and Gil Brandt and Tex Schramm had made the decision that Troy Aikman was going to be the top pick. People don't remember that. Everyone's like, oh, yeah, they drafted Troy Aikman. No, it was already determined. They only had 4 weeks to prepare for the draft. They were never going to – there was a conversation that they were going to go either Mandrich or Aikman, and decided to go to quarterback because Danny White was too old. They had another guy in there they didn't like, and they needed a quarterback, and Aikman was the best guy in the draft, so they went quarterback. But to sit there and go, yeah, Jerry, he was that's not true. And that's why when he looks at Troy Aikman, where he talks about the quarterbacks that he loves the most, he talks about Tony Romo. Because why? He found him. He was an undrafted UDFA. He got Dak in the 4th round. Those were his guys. Those were guys that he developed. Those were guys that he signed. Those were guys that he extended. Those are all his dudes. Who took Walsh? Jimmy. But Jimmy, hey, yeah, I think I've told you this story. Suplex goes, who took Walsh? Jimmy or Jerry? Jimmy did. But Suplex, here's what happened. We went out to dinner, Troy Aikman, myself, Nate Newton, Crawford Kerr. We went to the steakhouse there in Thousand Oaks. And I'll never forget Troy. He took us all out. Moose Johnson was there too. We're all going to dinner. And Aikman goes, oh, Jimmy drafted your boy. Yeah, okay. That's really good for me. I looked at Troy and I go, sorry, Aunt Betty, but I looked at Troy and I go, you don't fucking think that guy's going to take your job from you, do you? And this was Troy's first year too. And he goes, well, it's his boy. They won. I go, dude, that guy's not in your league. I broke Aikman's leg at Oklahoma. I go, do you actually think that Jimmy Johnson is going to play him over you? He probably drafted him so he can get draft picks for him, which that was the truth. That Jimmy has said it numerous times. He drafted him to get draft picks out of him. And he did. He got 1st and 3s and 4s and 5s. And I looked at Troy and I go, you don't really think that Jimmy Johnson is going to play a guy because he likes him. Jimmy Johnson plays people because they're good, because they're better than the guy behind him. That doesn't work with that guy. He doesn't care about that. He doesn't care about anything like that. That's not who that guy is. See, the guy you guys see on TV, he's a more calmer guy. That wasn't that dude back then. He didn't care about that shit. Troy goes, well, I go, it will not matter. That guy doesn't work like that. He'll replace you in a second. Coaches included. Coaches included, man. No, Jimmy wanted to draft him. He took him in the supplemental draft. Yeah. I think Aikman is great on the air, too. Mark, Tony's just a little bit more, engaging. That's all. Ask Mike Gullick about trying to tackle Moose Johnson. Hopefully we get him on tomorrow. I'm going to send, as soon as the show's over, I'm going to send a note to him to see if we can get his ass on tomorrow. Texas boy, Romo was going to get cut if Quincy Carter didn't F up. Okay? Was the 4th quarterback at the time, got lucky like Dak. Quincy Carter had a drug problem. Yeah, that's what Texas boy's talking about. Quincy Carter had a drug problem. And as Stephen Jones said on our program here numerous times, they didn't have a backup plan for that once Carter, and they said they'd never be in that position again, that they wouldn't have an alternative plan to go to because that thing was a train wreck for them when they had Quincy Carter. And they got lucky. I mean, what Tony Romo's like, what, a northern Iowa guy or Illinois guy, northern Illinois, something from some small-ass school or some shit? I forget where Tony Romo is from, which makes Jimmy the opposite of Chip Kelly. That's right. He ain't playing any. Hey, Jimmy ain't playing people because that ain't working like that with him. Maybe can be rough on the Cowboys and Dak. See, I think a lot of fans give Aikman too much shit because I do think Troy's very critical. Sills, I love that Jerome Brown hat. Props. Dave, you like it? Today's the anniversary of Jerome passing away. I think 32 years ago. Yeah, I think 32 years ago. How's your golf game? I haven't played in a long time. I showed you. Hey, sorry, guys, if I'm showing some of you because I know you've seen it. The funeral was on May 2nd, or July 2nd, excuse me. The funeral was on, today is the day he was killed. But the funeral was on July 2nd. Does it say who the people were? NFL players. I was a pallbearer. And here are the people here was the ceremony. I think Reggie spoke. Yeah. Reggie spoke. I think Alonzo Highsmith spoke. You guys can see that. This is the church card we all got when we walked in. Right there. Got the eagle thing. That's Augustus, who was killed in the car. Phil, did you hear that Jaws? We're going to talk about that, Jameson, at the top here. He said that the organization wants Jalen to smile more. I don't care about smiling. Just joined the show. JB, thank you, Jeff. Oh, look at Jeff. He's got the logo there. Do I still have that? I've showed you guys this before, too. There's Jerome's funeral. There's Jerome's address. 11472 Shady Rest Court, Brooksville, Florida. What a great dude. Rest in peace, brother. I love you. Always love you. Can you imagine if that guy played 10 years? Seals, did you hear that? Yeah, I did. Jameson, we're going to take a time out here in a second. And we're going to talk a little bit about what Jaws said here in a minute. I was listening to Rod Luck and WIP and Steve Fredericks at the time when they reported it. Wow. So it was during a live show, Yale, that they reported Jerome was killed. So Eagle fans found out and WIP reported it. That must have been horrible. Seals, the great ones die too soon. I remember when Reggie White broke the news. I've never seen my dad cry. Yeah, he did it at that church revival at the Vet. I saw him at the funeral. Came up and hugged me, man. He broke down. Reggie White came up to me at the church. My wife was sitting there in tears. She was my girlfriend then. And I've told you, some of you this. Cortez Kennedy, Russell, Maryland on each side, University of Miami guys. Jerome and I recruited both of them. And the guys were in tears. NFL guys, tough. Derek, what's his name? Derek Thomas in tears. Chris Carter in tears. Seth Joyner in tears. The entire place. Me too. Mr. Brown came up to me and he's like, come up to the front here with me. And I'm like, I can't look at that guy in that box. They buried him in a green suit for the Eagles. He was in a green, I think he was in a Kelly green suit when they buried him. I think so. I think it was a Kelly green suit when they buried him. Man, 32 years. Is that right? Or 38 years? 1992 he died. Man. Incredible. Seals, do you believe in reincarnation? I don't know. I believe in God. Okay. I believe in the Holy Father. I always will. No matter what people try to tell you. And I love the Eagles, but a Kelly Green suit is nasty work. I remember when Pete Lindbergh slammed his Porsche into a wall. Jersey. There is an afterlife. That's what God happened to agree. I was 11 or 12 when JB died. Can you imagine if that guy played 10 years like Fletcher Cox? He would have been Warren Sapp, but better and a better human. Seals, LT or Reggie? How about this? Suplex. Whoever you want, I'll take. Hey, okay? Hey, Suplex. Whoever you want, I'll take. Yeah, hey, Yale. My friend Len Bias died on the 19th of June. Guy I went to school with at Maryland. Okay? Whoever you want, I'll take the other guy. Reggie White, the greatest Eagle of all time. Tommy McDonald. Bednarik. Concrete, man, what a legend. Remember something. Concrete represented Philly and who he and what the city is more than Reggie did. Reggie had different religious beliefs, and the owner really didn't like Reggie because he thought he was anti-Jewish. That was a big conflict. That was a hidden thing back then. It's coming out a little more now, but Norman Brayman always thought that Reggie didn't like Jewish people. Not true. Not true. Was not true. Okay? Now, he may have said some shit because of religious language and such, and it didn't. Jerome used to tell him all the time, don't talk like that, man, because Jerome and I knew Norman Brayman from our Miami time because he still lives in Miami. He still lives in Miami to this day. And we were like, you can't talk like that around Norman Brayman, man. He is a absolute hardcore Jewish believer in his faith, and he can't say that shit. Didn't matter, man. You weren't going to tell Reggie White what to say. A lot of people didn't know that. Media people didn't know that. Well, Norman Brayman, the reason that he got rid of him, he thought Reggie was past his time, which wasn't true. And he thought that he was anti-Semitic. And Reggie White was not anti-Semitic. Can you believe Reggie White? Reggie White passed away. Jerome's passed away. There's another one. I think Wilkes is dead too. Or who's the guy that was on that other? There was another guy on that D line who passed away. Almost that entire defensive line is dead. I think, well, obviously Mike Golick is still alive, and so is Clyde Simmons, who was on that team. Waters was the hardest hitting Eagle ever. Hey, Charlie, Andre Waters was a great friend of ours. He lived in the Tampa area for many years. And he used to come on the show. He used to come in studio. And he knew because my relationship with Jerome, so he was always very kind. I love Andre Waters. Absolute tragedy. Waters was just, tell you this, man, you didn't F with that guy. You just did not F with him. He was not, he just was not that dude, man. Hey, there's certain dudes that you can kind of kid around with. He ain't it. If he don't know you and you say something off color to him, you could be in trouble. He'll go dark on you. He's one of them guys. He's no Steve Atwater? Okay, well, maybe not, but I'll tell you one thing. I'll take Andre Waters over Steve Atwater in a dark alley. Okay? And if I had to have two guys in a room, who would come out, Steve Atwater or Andre Waters? I'll take Andre Waters every day. That guy's coming out of a room. That's a tough dude, man. That guy's a tough dude. Hey, Sills, why would Kellen Moore take the job with the Eagles if he knew he can't coach RPO quarterback like Hurts? He's desperate. He's been fired like Xander said. His last two times he's been fired. How many options do you think he really had to be an OC? This guy's not coming off of winning a Super Bowl. He's coming off of 2 times being canned. Mike Pitts. Thank you, Kyle. Mike Pitts. He's the other guy that's passed away. Okay. Yes. Because he's been fired. Okay. I'm going to take a timeout. We're going to talk a little bit about what Jaws talked about on WIP today. And I heard that. Jalen needs, I heard the interview. And there were some things that were true and there were some things I don't care about. So, Xander, where are we in the like list, my friend? Where are we in that like list, guys? Trying to get to 200 by the end of the program. You guys did a great job. 144. Hey, we're behind, guys. I need your help. Okay, 56 away. 56 likes away. We'll hit on what Jaw said over on WIP next. Hit the like button. Keep it here, National Football Show.
If you missed any of today's show on the JAKIB Media channel, listen to the podcast on your way home. Available on YouTube, Apple, and Spotify.
Heading down the shore. Have a ball once more.
Here, imaginations run wild and time stands still. Because here, you can find the best of the Jersey Shore, all on one 5-mile island. So leave the old you behind and get lost in the woods.
Wild, wild, wildwood day.
Plan your stay in the Wildwoods today.
They're carving them up and good play calling along the way. First and goal at the 6.
On the field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you.
Champions on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
Win and save this baseball season from Colony Pools and Power Washing, a local company serving Delaware, Delco, and Chester County since 1970. Are you tired of looking at your green house? Is your roof, siding, deck stained green from algae and mold? Let the experts pressure wash your home and take the pressure off of you. Win with Colony Pools and Power Washing. Call them now at 302-762-2250. That's 302-762-2250.
The greatest fans on earth. It's a bold statement, but would you expect anything less from Philadelphia? 58 years of heartache creates a toughness, a grit, a resolve not found in most. Sure, our prayers were answered, but now that we've had a taste, we're looking for more. Pondley Hockey, official partner of the Philadelphia Eagles.
EAGLES, Eagles.
Big Sales National Football Show. Please hit the like button. Thank you guys so much for coming aboard. Trying to get to 200 likes by the end of the program. If we can keep that updated while we're talking, I'd appreciate it. Thank you guys so much. EA Sports came out this morning here with the toughest places to play college football games. It's funny, I looked at this list. I played in a lot of these places. They got Kyle Field, Texas A&M, number 1. Never played there. Bryant-Denny Stadium, number 2, Alabama. I never played there, but I played at Legion Field. How's that for you, Xander? I played at one of the most legendary places where they held the Iron Bowl for generations. I played at Legion Field. I'm very proud of some of the places that I've played because when you walk into these joints, they've got like mementos from past history of some of the places that you played, like, playing at the Orange Bowl, playing at the Rose Bowl, playing at Michigan Stadium, and places like that. I played at Legion Field. I did not play at Bryant-Denny. LSU Stadium, I never played there. I played at Ohio State. I played at the Horseshoe. I never played at Georgia Stadium. That's 5. I've never played at Happy Valley, but I played Penn State out in the desert in a bowl game. I never played at Camp Randall. I beat Oklahoma in Oklahoma, number 8. I've beaten FSU at Doak Campbell, number 9. And I've beaten Florida at Ben Hill Griffin Stadium, number 10. So I've played at, on this list, 4 of the top 10. The Horseshoe, Memorial Stadium, Oklahoma, Doak Campbell, 9. And Ben Hill Griffith Stadium, the Swamp, 10. Cool thing about Doak Campbell back in the day before all you do-gooders and all the woke folks in the world got a hold of the world. Used to be one of the coolest settings of all time. The lights would go out, 75,000 fans. You're standing there on the sidelines. I had never seen this. I'm from Connecticut. I had never seen this shit. And all of a sudden the lights go out. All the FSU people get their lighters or what have you, start lighting it up, and you start hearing dun 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 dun. And the horse and the guy come out, and he's got the spear, and he goes over to the opposing sideline, and this big horse gets up, and he throws the spear right in front of you guys on fire. Unbelievably awesome. Unbelievably awesome. One of the greatest things I've ever seen, and one of the most intimidating things I've ever seen in my life. That horse gets up on its back legs. This guy's like 15 feet tall with that guy dressed up in that Seminole Indian outfit, and he throws that spear. Pretty dope. Dude, the Swamp was an absolute horror show for anybody. We went up there one year in the 86. I had a sack in the game. It's like 14 tackles or some shit. We didn't crush them. They were really good on defense too, but that place was 120 degrees on the turf. It was so warm. Game is on YouTube. Thank you very much. You can watch that 86 game with me in it. And I get a really great sack in that game. I almost got a safety. And man, loud. When I left the stadium, the Swamp's the toughest place I ever played. Lambeau's a lot like that. Steve, one of my game balls up there is from Florida. When I got in there. 107 today. Hey, Bruce. 107 today in Gainesville. Well, on the turf, when they used to have, remember when they used to have AstroTurf? Hey, Bruce, remember when they used to have AstroTurf? That place would get 120. And it would burn the skin of your feet off. It was so hot. You take your shoes off immediately when you got into the locker room, because what it did was it started burning your skin of your feet off because it was so warm. Oh, it was the hottest thing I've ever done. It was the craziest environment I've ever played in. And they used to have AstroTurf up there. And that AstroTurf was so hard to play on. I think I got I do, as a matter of fact, because they were posting this stuff. And here's me sacking Kerwin Bell at the Swamp. See if I can make it bigger for you. Dude, it gets hot up there, man. Woo. Hey, that place is that place is hot, man. And by the way, hey Howie, now you know why I don't like you. Okay, Sills, you ever play in the vet? No, I didn't play in the vet, but I did get a chance to go up to the vet. They worked me out. I was going to sign with them. But I've been to the I went to the vet. I played at RFK, believe it or not. But I never played at the vet. No. But I went to the vet. They worked me out. I ran around out there a little bit. They were a whole nightmare scene. Some of you guys know the story. I like when people from up north come to Texas and say it's so hot when it's only 90 degrees. Hey, DFW, we used to do that down at the Orange Bowl. I know Gardner Johnson's a Gator too. That's why he talks so much shit. Hey, DFW, my wife knows this too. Dude, you come down to South Florida. Jimmy used to schedule 1:00 games with Notre Dame. And those guys would come down in November from South Bend, snow drifts. These guys would come down, man, and they'd be out of gas in the first quarter. And the guy goes, dude, you're from Connecticut. How are you dealing with it? Oh, it took me 2 years to get used to the heat and humidity down here. This wasn't an overnight thing. I almost quit and went home. That's a true story. Okay? That's a true story. I almost quit and went home. Sills, 87 Penn State. We got you my senior year. You know, it was one of the cool things about that game. Yeah, you did. You got me. You guys, I don't know how you did it, too. You guys had 7 first downs in the game, and you beat me. 7 first downs, and you beat Big Stills. That's all you had in that game. Here, Penn State, Sileo. We'll get into what we'll get into that here in a minute. I got to show you this. You'll like this, my friend. Sileo, PSU. Here's the first play of the game, the Penn State game. How you doing? Take a seat, kid. Big Sills is here. In front of 100 million people. Take a seat, kid. Actually, my aunt who's watching this took this picture. I don't know how she got on the field. Never understood how she got on the field for that deal. Yeah. That was interesting, to say the least. And you know what, too? What you guys said? That thing was so well covered, man, that game. Here, I'll show it to you. Hey, here's Jerome. This is why Buddy loved Jerome. Look at Jerome give the salute. Man, it was so fun playing with him. We had great times. Jerome was spectacular in that game, too. We both were. Your boy, Miss Sinelli, wrote a book on us. All right. Enough of that. Hit the like button, guys. If the Eagles win another championship, Raymonds will need a calculator to add up the Super Bowls. Marcos, I love Jerome. Jerome's a great man. Okay, Sills, I was playing with Testaverde, was decent for the Jets some of the years. Vinny was I'll say this to you. Vinny was the most talented player I ever played with that was a quarterback for us, but the guy that you would want when championships for you would be Bernie Kosar. I really love Vinny. He should have been benched in that game. He threw 7 picks. Corey, think about it. He threw 7 picks. We gave up 7 first downs and lost 14-10. We gave up 130 yards in total offense, Jerome and I. 130 yards of total offense. 7 first downs, and we lost. Played a perfect game. We couldn't have done anything. We just couldn't have played any better. We kicked the shit out of that team, and we lost a national title. Yeah, hey, Vinny's on the 10-yard line with 9 seconds. My aunt's in the stands. Jerome looks over at me. We're standing up on the bleachers. Jerome looks at me, and I go like this. He looks at me. He goes, "You think he throws a pick?" I go, "Yep." And Jerome looked at me. He threw a pick, and I go, "I told you so." And they wanted to pull us out of the game. And Jimmy Johnson wanted to pull me and Stubbs and Jerome out of the game. I just went like this. No fucking way. We're going to finish this. There was 6 seconds on the clock. No way. No way. We went out there. The Penn State guys were barking at us. We beat them. We beat these monsters. Look at them. We beat them. They did. We couldn't say anything. I never was more humiliated and playing so well and nothing I could do about it. Well, Jimmy, you know what, JM? Jimmy has said it's his most difficult loss in the history. He said it here. It was the most difficult loss in the history of his coaching career. Jerry Sandusky was the defensive coordinator for the Penn State Nittany Lions. Hey, Jerry Sandusky came into my house and recruited me for Penn State. Came to my high school, recruited me. He's considered one of the greatest defensive coordinators of all time. And you can say that. I'm not talking other stuff. He's one of the greatest college football coordinators in the history of college football. Steve goes, "I don't think I've seen 7 picks before." Crazy. I think it was 7 turnovers, Steve. It was 7 turnovers we had. And it was 7 turnovers. I think he had 5 or 6 picks. Yeah, we had 7 turnovers. It was a nightmare on offense. Every time they got the ball, they were on our 10 or 20, and we were stopping them. Anytime we got the ball in decent field position, they never moved the ball on us. They couldn't. I thought Sandusky only recruit Ultra Boy. He was a good coordinator. Hey, those Penn State team. Here, I'll say this to you too, Ultra Boy, Ultra Cowboy. How about this? Penn State, they're not Penn State right now under James Franklin like they were under Paterno. That's not remotely close to the same Penn State talent, team, aura about the team. Only thing that remains the same are the fans. But that's not Penn State football. You're a middle-of-the-road program. Not that my program's doing anything. My program hasn't done shit in 20 years. But that's not Joe Paterno football. Those guys that you have there, dude, Michael Parsons was everywhere at Penn State. They had 10 guys like Michael Parsons at Penn State. Paterno was a tremendous recruiter of South Philly, New Jersey area, Pennsylvania, Western and Eastern, Ohio, down in the Florida area. He'd go over to Texas. Joe Paterno, man. James Franklin sucks as a coach. Penn State was absolutely sensational. I hate Penn State. They did the Canes dirty. Ugh. Dan Sileo said he was you Cowboys winning 5 games. 6, I thought I said. It wasn't Blair Thomas, Fly. It was, who was the guy that played for the Mets? DJ Dozier. DJ Dozier was the running back that was at Penn State at the time. And some other guy, a running back, Tim Manoa, who went on and had a long career actually in the NFL. I think he played actually longer than DJ, but it was Tim Manoa. I love Tim Manoa. We're dear friends. Sills, where can I buy a hat like that? Matter of fact, I got a couple of them. All right. So I'm going to paraphrase some of the things that I heard. By the way, I'm wearing a hat in honor of Jerome's unfortunate passing today. He died today in 1992. So that's why the hat's on. Jaws said that Jalen Hurts is not a very good leader. What do you make of that? Not a very good leader. Thank you, Mr. Perez. Please, guys, hit the like button. Give me a running total on that, too. Raymond's goes, I think he's jealous. Why would Jaws be jealous? Jealous of what? Jealous of what? 163. Thank you, guys. Hey, 37 shy. See if we can get to that 200. I'd really appreciate it. He's paid too much and performed too poorly to be this unapproachable. Wow. JM putting a nail right in the board. How could he know? He's not in the locker room. Hey, Ben, he was asked this question. What'd you make of Jalen Hurts' comment about Nick Sirianni last week or 2 weeks ago? And he said, very disappointing. Showed a lack of leadership. Showed a lack of leadership. He was commenting on how he doesn't really embrace the role. Hey, would we agree? I don't know about you too, Xander. You think Jalen Hurts embraces the role of being the face of the franchise? I think he embraces the role of being the starting quarterback of the Eagles. But do you think he embraces the role of being the face of the franchise? I don't. I think A.J. Brown embraces that more. But nobody wants him to be the face. You want your quarterback to be the face of the franchise. I think that's, this goes back a little bit to what, again, Boomer Esiason said. Hey, you're going to sign a contract like that. It comes more than just being a starting quarterback in the NFL. You got to say some shit maybe sometimes you don't really want to say. He refuses to do that. And someone goes, Sills, he wishes that Jalen would smile more. That I really don't care about. That I really don't care about. Oh, so LJ calls Jaws poison. Okay. Wasn't me. He said it. Wow. So LJ doesn't like Andy or Doug over Nick, and he thinks Jaws is poison. Okay. Because he made a comment. Interesting. I don't say nothing about my boy or my guy. How funny. I say nothing about my boy or my guy. Hey, didn't say anything about my boy or my guy. Jaws called your guy a non-leader. Damn. That's something I'd want to hear former captain of the Eagles saying. That's not a good leader. He's got to work at it better. He's got to be a better leader. Not my guy. Hey, your guy only won 4 games at the end. But as Xander likes to do, let me hoist that bad puppy up, baby. And no matter how many games Doug wins, how's that Super Bowl taste? Like a Philly cheesesteak. How's Nick's 2022 Super Bowl taste. Like an enema. Hey, think about that. Doug can always go like this. And that thing tastes like a cheesesteak. Serving that baby up, winning that Super Bowl. How you feel about your boy Nicky? His performance in 22. Like I just got an enema. Oh, yeah. How you doing? He won 4 games. So did Andy. Both suck. Come on, Jalen. Got to work on being the leader, son. Maybe one of the reasons why you had your job taken from you in Alabama, too. Now, to what Xander says, and some, according to Angelo, too. Maybe he's just speaking out. So you had a guy today. This ain't old news. This is new. Jaws. Ron Jaworski saying your boy is not a good leader. Damn. Man, you can say a lot of shit about a guy. But the quarterback is not and doesn't show leadership skills. He's not something you might want. And that's the stuff Xander was talking about when he was on last hour, when he was saying his demeanor on the sideline. You've had some players even comment on it. Brandon Graham, Fletcher Cox, some of those guys commented on it. What does Eagles 22 Super Bowl appearance and Cowboys Super Bowls have in common? They're in the past. Fair enough. Yeah, but one thing, DFW sports fan, I can remember the Eagles. The Cowboys Super Bowls, I think Bill Clinton was doing something dirty on Monica Lewinsky's dress the last time they were relevant. I don't know. I don't know what it was, but wasn't it something like that? I don't know. I mean, hey, I don't even know who Monica Lewinsky is. I was just something to do with Monica Lewinsky and the Cowboys and the 90s and Clinton and Arkansas and Jerry Jones and Jimmy. I don't know. Something like that? Ben goes like this. Hey, Sills, the World Trade Center buildings were still up. Oh, my God. It's funny. Big Sills, can Hurts be a top? I'm going to say this, Mr. Perez. We did an exercise earlier. Jalen's a top 12 quarterback that could have a year where he's a top 5 performer. Yeah. I don't talk about the past Super Bowls of the Cowboys. I live in the now. Well, you're one of the very few. You're one of the few Cowboy fans that does do that. Which Eagles game are you looking most forward to this season? Great question. That's a great question. Xander, write it in there. What game are you looking forward to this year? I think that Baltimore game. Hey, dude, I like that Green Bay game. I do. The first game of the year. Looks like a hell of a game. Yeah, I say Baltimore. Hey, Gabriel goes, ancient rings. Hey, Gabriel, the last time I heard rings was when the space shuttle was talking about O-rings and the space shuttle went down and the Cowboys were still relevant. Like O-rings or something. Baltimore, Cincinnati, and Dallas. Whew, man. Dallas, if I had to rank them, Baltimore, Dallas, and Cincinnati. Then the Packers. I think it's going to be interesting to see what they do in that Rams game. I like that Rams game. Yeah. O-rings and cowboy rings. What do they have in common? They blow up in the off season. Too soon. Too soon. Too soon. Was just watching highlights of that 87 Fiesta Bowl. Wow, game. Gave me chill sills. Great game. Yeah, we played great in that game. Really did. It was one of the hey, I'll say this to you, Fly. It's one of the greatest things I'll remember for the rest of my life because it was one of the most relevant games of all time. It was the first national championship game ever moved because it was moved to January 2nd. And it was the first national title game. 100 million people watched it that night. It was on national television. President Reagan was there. It was crazy. It was like a Super Bowl. It was like a Super Bowl. Never seen anything like it. 100 million people. We're on NBC. Was no cable TV. It was NBC television. And the nation watched us that night. Seriously, it was like 97 million people watched that game. It's the most watched game in college football history to this day. You know, that's another cool thing. The number one most watched college basketball game is Bird and Magic. The number one most watched college football game of all time I played in. And my aunt was there, of course, as she was everywhere. You had enough time for one more play. We had 3 timeouts left, too. And they were left in the desert. As unfortunate we say. 169, 9 minutes. Let's go, guys. Let's go. Got to try to get that up there near 200. So again, look. Hurts in leadership. Hurts has got to want to be the face of the franchise. Yeah, but I don't want to be. I don't care. You have to want to be. There lies his problem. He doesn't want to be the captain of the team. He doesn't want to throw his arm around the coach. Hey, I don't either. I don't want to be the captain of the team. I don't want to do that shit. I want to do my job. I don't want to go to work. And I want to help my team win. Do I want to do, hey, me being in the media, I got to tell you guys, back then, I didn't talk to the media. I didn't really like the media. And every time I said something in the media, it was always taken out of context. And believe me, most of the time, I mean, I was called the mouth of the South. I called people overrated. I said, this guy sucked. But people put a mic in front of me because I just didn't like these people. Then don't take the bag. I mean, that's part of being a franchise quarterback. I completely understand that. Doug P. not calling plays. And fired coordinators. Breaking news. Nick reports there'll be a change at quarterback by week 8. Oh, hey, I got some more breaking news for you. Wait a minute. I got it here. I got some breaking news. Hold on. Here it is. Hassan Reddick has purchased a geisha shop in Japan. Mr. Samurai has purchased a geisha shop in Japan. And he's now on his 3rd-degree samurai belt. Wow. The Jets are very thrilled with this. Very thrilled. Very thrilled with this because they know he's only got 2 more levels, and we got a couple more weeks before the start of training camp. He's starting a geisha shop in Japan called Hassan's Place. Yeah, no, hey, he's Hassan Lee. Oh my God. Hassan Lee. Oh my God. This guy, instead of being in a mini camp or OTAs, this guy's floating around Japan with a Scotch umbrella above his head. Like, done. Oh man. All good. All right, guys. Hit the like button. Keep it here, National Football Show.
If you missed any of today's show on the JAKIB Media channel, listen to the podcast on your way home. Available on YouTube, Apple, and Spotify.
Heading down the shore. Have a ball once more.
Here, imaginations run wild and time stands still. Because here, you can find the best of the Jersey Shore, all on one 5-mile island. So leave the old you behind and get lost in the woods.
Wild, wild, wildwood day.
Plan your stay in the Wildwoods today.
They're carving them up and good play calling along the way. First and goal at the 6.
On the field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you.
Champions on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
Win and save this baseball season from Colony Pools and Power Washing, a local company serving Delaware, Delco, and Chester County since 1970. Are you tired of looking at your green house? Is your roof, siding, deck stained green from algae and mold? Let the experts pressure wash your home and take the pressure off of you. Win with Colony Pools and Power Washing. Call them now at 302-762-2250. That's 302-762-2250.
The greatest fans on earth. It's a bold statement, but would you expect anything less from Philadelphia? 58 years of heartache creates a toughness, a grit, a resolve not found in most. Sure, our prayers were answered, but now that we've had a taste, we're looking for more. Pondley Hockey, official partner of the Philadelphia Eagles.
EAGLES. Eagles.
Big Sales National Football Show. Please hit the like button, guys. Appreciate it. Sales, who you drafted? Mark Holmes or Philly 500? Philly 500. Philly 500. That's who I'm drafting. Philly 500. You kidding me? By the way, they'll be on tomorrow. We're working on Mike Gullick right now. I apologize about Gary Cobb. Gary was undisposed, obviously, working at that camp here. I like this comment here that Mike McCarthy's getting fed up with Jerry Jones. Dude, pump the brakes. Know who you are. Hey, Mike, you've done a really good job in Dallas. Okay? You have. You haven't quite. I'll say this to you. Mike McCarthy, head coach, Cowboys, history. Is he better than Jason Garrett? Yeah. Is he better than Parcells? Dallas Parcells. Dallas Parcells. Maybe. Kind of even. Two best coaches are Jimmy and Landry. Is he third? I mean, right? Is he third? 172. Guys, hit that like button, my friends. Please, appreciate it. So, maybe third or fourth. It's about a push, DFW. I happen to agree. I do. We're working on Mike Gullick for tomorrow. Mark Holmes will be with us. By the way, we have gotten so many great comments. Plus, he saw Michael Irvin, and Michael's confirmed that he's going to come on the program with you guys during the football season when the season starts. And he's going to come on with Philly 500, myself, Mark Holmes, and me. And we're going to do that during the football season. So you got Michael Irvin to do it. Guys, I appreciate it so much. Thank you. I can't thank you enough. Joe, Big Xander, we so appreciate it. Guys, we're absolutely awesome. 2 to 6 tomorrow. Rest in peace, Jerome Brown. And we'll see you on the flip side.